Defining Duke is brought to you by MeUndies. MeUndies believes that comfort is more than what's touching your skin. It's about feeling comfortable in your skin.
And so with that, I gotta say, I recommend MeUndies.
So never leave your couch again with a MeUndies membership, a monthly subscription that sends new pairs right to your door. Each month, you'll choose new undies, socks, or a bralette and pick the style and color or print that feels the most you. Fun, right? Plus, enjoy discounted pricing, free shipping, and exclusive early access to new launches. Love your butt and get the membership. To get 15% off your first order and free shipping, go to MeUndies.com/Duke. That's MeUndies.com/Duke.
This summer, Bespoke Post is here to take your adventures to the next level with a new lineup of must-have Box of Awesome collections. Bespoke Post partners with small businesses and emerging brands to bring you the most unique goods every month. I'm personally a big fan of the Weekender, which is a beautiful canvas bag with leather handles and metal hardware. It just screams quality, and I know that I'll be using it for future trips. No matter what you're into, Box of Awesome has you covered. From travel and outdoor gear to breezy summer styles and grooming goods, Box of Awesome has collections for every part of your life. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter code DUKE at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code DUKE for 20% off your first box.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 37 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lord Cognito. Cog, I don't have a nickname for you this week.
Oh, no. What's going on, Matty?
I'm catching you on the fly, I guess, right?
It's all love, man. Just getting introduced, and then we got family here, man. I'm feeling good, man. What's going on?
I do have a nickname for him, Mayor Ben. Ben Smith,
hello.
our very own. Welcome.
Greetings. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Is that a nickname or is that a title?
I guess.
Not sure.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. You can call me Your Honor if you prefer.
Yeah,
that's fine.
The man with the key to the city. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. I'm happy to have you here.
I appreciate the invite, man, as always.
Of course. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Defining Duke. We hope you're all doing fantastic. We're not going to wish you a mediocre week this time around. We thank you for tuning in, supporting our lovely little show here. Feeling extra grateful this week because we had almost 70 write-ins. So thank you, everyone who posted comments on the patron post. After last week, we were like, do we do a 3-5 structure for the patron questions? And if we're getting this many write-ins, there's no question we'll stick with 5-5. So we appreciate you supporting our show, doing your thing, and we'll keep doing our thing. So we appreciate that. For those who are interested in listening to this show for early access or want to write in, support us at patreon.com/laststandmedia. Early access for the show goes live on Thursdays. If you want to listen on free feeds, we're available everywhere podcasts are, from Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, video version on YouTube every Sunday. And also, this past week, Cog and I sat down for a heated debate on the battle for Disney in episode 33 of Defining Duke Ultimate. What I've learned, because I made a video on it too, this is not such a one-sided topic like I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was kind of a no-brainer, like, yeah, we want to do this thing. It's not. And I'm very keen to see the feedback for that episode.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. And I love those type of discussions, those polarizing discussions sometimes, because it brings out a lot of passion. Try to hear both sides, and we just try to bring some things to light. You know, whether you agree or disagree is one thing, but I love that because it sparks that conversation, that thought. That's the type of discussion I like.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, man, I'm sorry. While I was editing, I was just like kind of cheering you guys on while you were going, especially cool. Cog, because he was getting it. He and I are in the Marvel, and I was just like, you know, come on, we gotta have something more. We gotta have some, and then Star Wars and this, So it was. I thought it was a great episode as someone who wasn't a participant. I hear every piece of LSM content every week, and you know, sometimes I'm never thinking it's bad, but sometimes I'm like, okay. And that one I thought was great. Thank you.
So we have like a 1 in 33 ratio. You're telling me?
No, I didn't mean for your show. I mean 6 shows. You're gonna spread it out a little. No
yeah,
problem.
of course. Not everyone's gonna be a banger. I'm sure the audience
Right.
shares that feeling. But yeah, we'd rather take the tough topics like Marvel and Star Wars apparently are, and wrangle them a little bit. So we thank those who listened and shared their feedback. And like I said, I'm going to be paying attention to that, especially after seeing the response to my video on it. So let's get into some before we begin write-ins. Just quick brushing up from the community here. Old People Sex is our first write-in. Hey, Big Duke boys, follow up from last week. I asked you to pitch me an Xbox exclusive Marvel game, and Matty pitched a Wolverine game. Even though it went to PlayStation, I'm still especially excited to see Insomniac at the helm. Let us pray for an Xbox exclusive Blade game. No question, but I want to acknowledge and give credit to your pitch/prediction. Yeah, we kind of in the last 2 weeks have materialized a lot of things because I realized someone wrote in the comments, they put a timestamp of me going, I just sometimes will pause in my day-to-day life and go, what of a KOTOR remake? What would that moment be like when it's announced? And then the week later it's announced. A lot of things we said last week are eerily foreshadowing what was to come.
And Matty, back in the other episode of DD I was on back in June, right before COG came on board, you and I were we had a similar question pitched, and we talked about a Wolverine game then too, if I remember correctly. So I think this show, if people are missing out, they don't realize this show is in fact manifesting things.
Yes, clairvoyant. A lot of people give Chris the credit, but I think this show has the power. Yeah, I was going to say, this show has the power. It's clear as day now. We've willed 2 things into existence. And boys, while we're at it, do we have anything we want to bring to the table? What do you think the audience will want? What can we bring to life? Hog's scheming.
I'm scheming. I mean, we said a lot of things. Obviously, the KOTOR and Wolverine. So there's a lot of things already we've kind of spoken to. And then me and you, Matty, we have the whole, not that we're wishing anything bad to happen on a certain release of Microsoft's in December, right? But we have that watch. Let's see what happens with the state of this game that certain features keep getting delayed.
A little delay, maybe.
Right. So let's see what happens. Let's see if the streak continues. Yeah. Not that I'm putting out negative energy.
Yeah. Just for clarity's sake, so everyone can timestamp that. We're going to put a Halo delay out into the ether, all right? It's 1:57 p.m., September 15th, 2021. If a delay happens after that moment in time, you're welcome. All right, next write-in real quickly. Andrew Kendall. Dear Matty and Cog, more of a comment/observation than a question. Cog, this is all you. I was trying the other day to come up with a drinking game to go along with Defining Duke, but I got to a point where I realized it would be thoroughly inappropriate for me to carry on. It was all fun and games until I came up with the rule, drink every time Cog grunts or makes some kind of noise of assent while someone else is talking. Then when I was listening to the episode of Jez Corden, I realized that his lordship does this so much that I would end up being solely responsible for destroying the livers of your listeners worldwide. So I stopped. All the love in the world to you both. You brighten up, and I'm sure many others week. Keep it up, chaps. Andrew from South Wales, UK.
All right, this is me. All right, so first off, salute to Andrew. That is hilarious, right? Look, I'm from New York. I'm a very passionate guy. New York guys, we talk with our hands. We grunt. When something is, we approve and we love it, you do that, and we're from that. So I know it's a bit much for some. I'm a passionate guy. I work on it if people feel it's a little bit much. But Cog is passionate, man. I'm one of those people that when I hear stuff that I love and I feel passion from a person or someone like Matty, sometimes you're so on point with a lot of things you say. And I think it was one time we talked about the artistry of developer and allowing them to create what they want to create. And you so eloquently put it together that I had to give you the talk to him. So again,
I want you to keep it. Right?
Okay, I didn't know.
Here's the thing. I don't believe in the idea of stripping down these little things that we do that give us personality. Not that this person was requested that, but just in general, I don't want you to, because when I'm on that roll and you give me a I'm like, hold on, I got one more for you. I take another step. Yeah.
Bro,
like
I did it to you when, I mean, you saw it live when we first met at dinner, and I had a sandwich, and I was like, oh, let me order. I'm next to Ben, and Ben was like, okay, what sandwich is this? Okay, cool. And I was like, oh, okay, this is it right here. Right? Like, again, this is how I am. I'm a very passionate person, and you may get that grunt, you may get that woo a little bit, you know.
I was just about to say, if they think you grunt a lot on the shows, they should sit next to you at dinner. It's wild. It's good. It's a good thing. And I'm eating, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to enjoy this even more than I was going to, because I know he's enjoying it that much. Yeah,
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Really is that.
Salute to the Duke. Salute to the, everybody shout me out and stuff like that. It's little cogisms. I got my cogisms.
That's a perfect term, and I think you should always keep them.
Much love.
It's like me whenever you guys are talking, you'll hear me like, I don't know if Ben edits it out, but I always go like like I give a little always, like an understanding nod. Yours is just a little more like you got a little more chest.
Sometimes I don't edit it out. Sometimes I actually boost it if it's like a poignant. It's like a poignant that I'll just like bump it up a decibel or two. You know?
As long as the common boys don't come for me, I'm good. I'm good. As long as everybody like it, the Dukes of the realm love it, I'm good.
Perfect. All right, one last wrap-up question, and then, or not wrap-up, I'm sorry, before we begin, and then we'll get into our warm-up questions. Matthew A. says, hey, boys, with Insomniac seemingly having infinite teams and Colin recently sitting down to do a Sacred Plus on the state of Sony Studios and their potential teams and projects, do you think there's a chance for a similar discussion on defining Duke or Ultimate? We know Obsidian and inXile are working on multiple projects, but what about other studios? Surely Xbox doesn't have all the pieces on the roadmap through 2023. Thanks, XOXO. Yeah, I got to give it a listen to this episode, but generally speaking, I like the idea. I think as we enter this very busy time, we're going to be doing a lot of reviews discussions, and we need to fill in those gaps. I think this would be a really good idea. So we will likely take a page out of the Sacred Playbook for that one there. But I do want to listen to the episode, see how Colin presented it, and I'll likely do a similar format to that. All right. Warm-up questions now. Craves Snow. Yo, Dukes. How do you think Xbox is going to go about greenlighting sequels? Do they do Game Pass downloads like sales? Deathloop sales X on PlayStation and PC plus Xbox Game Pass downloads. Prey and Dishonored 2 don't seem to have sold crazy, so how do we get a Deathloop 2? And I thought this was a really good starting question because Deathloop is reviewing extremely well, and we're seeing a lot of people get excited for when it eventually comes to Xbox after a year. So what do you think, how does Xbox look at this now if they were to do a sequel? And of course, that also brings in the question of how do they release it? Is it multiplex? It started on PlayStation.
It's a good question. Who's jumping in? Ben, you got it? You want to jump in?
I'm perpetually confused at how they actually are going to assess how these games are doing, because like I'm sure, I mean, I know on Microsoft's backend they have a really extensive way for developers to see how their game is performing, to see how their game's doing, to see if how many people have played, how many times it's crashed, how many hours they played. Like they've got a good system on the back end, so I can only imagine that the side that Xbox sees is exponentially better. Do they see that when somebody signs? I mean, I'm assuming they see somebody signs up for brand new for Game Pass, and the first game they play is, let's say, Deathloop or whatever the game is. They can probably, I'm assuming, tell a little bit that this game maybe isn't the reason they signed up for Game Pass, but it's the first thing they played. So that's going to make an impact. And then I think also that, there's probably some combination. We talk about a lot of times people who have Game Pass will actually go ahead and buy the game and they have that Game Pass discount. And so I imagine it's a lot of different factors in there, but certainly time played, they can add up and figure out what amount that dollar is as far as the Game Pass subscription cost. I don't know how they talk about greenlighting sequels. I don't know what the metrics look like if it's multiplat or if it's not multiplat. If it's multiplat, it's easy to figure out what those metrics are. But if it's not multiplat, I don't know. But I have to assume they've got some analytics that show like this game drove Game Pass sales or Game Pass subscriptions. This game didn't, but it still got a ton of hours. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a good point, man. I was thinking similarly because, my thing is the question. This is a great question because my only thing with Game Pass was I felt like a lot of the games that fall into that cooperative or multiplayer mode is easier to track because I feel like from an engagement standpoint, they probably have metrics and telemetry that would say, okay, look how many people are engaging, look what's going on. And I think that aspect is very helpful for them from a data standpoint. It is interesting, and I brought this to you, man. We talked about this a few Defining Dukes ago about single player games. And I want to see how that does. And it's interesting this came up because right now, Psychonauts 2, there's a big little, let's say debate, but there were concerns in the community because the MPD just came out and Psychonauts 2 didn't chart on physical or digital sale. So obviously different type of scenario in the sense that was, I guess, a Kickstarter game initially that was multi-plat. Now it comes over and it wasn't really the biggest game from a sales standpoint in the past. So it is interesting to see though, single player games, how they fare in the Game Pass structure. That's what I'm curious, especially first party. So for me, my eye is going to be watching. I want to see what happens there. But I think ultimately, I still have the feeling that Microsoft is still going to allow their studios to develop the games that they want. I don't think there's going to be this initiative, hey, you better have multiplayer aspect components into it, that kind of thing. I still feel that the developers have that creative autonomy. So I'm curious, what did you think, Matty? Like, how do you feel about the greenlighting aspect?
Yeah, it's really tough to call because I feel like we don't have enough information to really go off and we can only assume. And I'm just of the mindset that if we're talking about the lingering games from the Bethesda deal where they're doing Ghostwire, we just saw Deathloop come out. I almost don't think that they're looking at it from a sequel standpoint. Like, I feel like Xbox is probably more concerned with, rightfully so, Redfall. Also because Redfall happens to be co-op. And so what Cog touched on exactly that is that's something they could probably track easier. The level of engagement probably means a lot more. But of course, that's one of a number of co-op games coming. They have a lot of single player games in the pipeline. We assume Avowed, Fable, Starfield, like these are going to be single player games. And it's always going to be really tough to tell because there's something going on the back end that makes it where these games to them are feasible to invest in while they're not selling them as often as maybe Cog said with Psychonauts 2, which reviewed spectacularly well. But also, this is where sometimes I think those internal numbers we don't have access to play a bigger factor. So you brought up Psychonauts 2 being kickstarted. And so effectively they had enough to make it. And then Microsoft came in, pushed them over the finish line some more, where I think the game was already in a, if you will, profitable area or an area to be able to profit. So they didn't need to chart like crazy to make some money. Like, I think with the game already paid for effectively through Kickstarter, they went ahead and made what they had to make with that budget, and then Microsoft paid for the rest, and then it was just money on top. So maybe that investment to them looks a little bit smaller. And so I don't know how they're going to size things up. Like, is Deathloop raw profit because that was a PlayStation Bethesda deal, and then Xbox comes in afterwards and they're just collecting that? I mean, I assume they're getting money for copies purchased just because they own Bethesda now.
Yeah.
So they're getting a split of that. So I think there's a lot of numbers we're not seeing, and it's really hard to tell. But in terms of making a sequel, I do believe it's just up to the creatives at that point because they know, we'll talk about this in just a second, the games are reviewing better. And I think they're starting to see when they just let them do their thing, you're going to get something much better.
Right. Last point I want to make is, this is a great discussion too, is that I think another thing is, you're making a great point about what they are revealing and what they are not revealing from a metric standpoint. I think maybe internally another thing that may be a factor here is how much Game Pass subscriptions they are getting, if they're starting to see any type of drop off or tail off during that period, because that could be a big metric to say, okay, look at our numbers during this. When these
really good point.
Exactly come out.
Probably the most defining metric of them all. That's a really good point. Yes.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I usually like a little pun, but I do agree. I think, if you're seeing a surge of signups, let's say Deathloop comes out and they get 100,000 more members, they're like, okay, maybe we should look into doing this again. I don't know if that's enough for them or not, but it depends how much gains they're seeing overall versus when a game releases. So really good point there. Number 2 comes from Craig McGuire. Dukes, do you think the recent critical responses to Psychonauts 2, Flight Simulator, and now Deathloop, and the releases in 2020 like Doom Eternal, Ori 2, Gears Tactics, etc., is a sign both Microsoft and Bethesda are now moving in the right direction? Obviously, big question marks remain around Halo, but Forza Horizon 5 should be a surefire hit. Is it time to start giving these much maligned publishers in recent times some props again?
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's internally the streets are talking. They're saying there's a streak going on, man. They said that the studio's on fire right now. The streak is continuous. As far as gamers are funny to me in the sense that like Metacritic is like the end all be all for a lot of gamers. Right? My boy Matty puts out a review. They feel away if it's not in lining with whatever, So it's just funny to me. Gamers, I'm always of the mindset I'm going to go to the people's opinions that I respect. But I like Destiny. It was not a high Metacritic game. I still love that game. But to the question, I think that they are on a streak. I think if you look at it objectively, right? You have Microsoft Flight Sim. Obviously, we just talked about Psychonauts. It's been charting this way. Now, Deathloop are now getting critically acclaimed reviews for the most part. And look, they're on the streak. This is under their band. For the most part, minus this other guy. I'm riding with you, though. I saw them shooting shots. I was like, nah, we're not doing that. Get out your feelings, because Matty said what he said. If anyone has the authority to talk on that game, it's Matty. That is Arkane is his bag. So I'm riding for him on that. But anyway, no doubt, I got you. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think that it just goes to show you, like, wow, this is underneath the Microsoft Studio umbrella. And to me, it makes me look like, yo, the future's bright. Imagine now what the next iteration is going to do on the next project kind of thing with the resources. So what do you guys think?
What I like is that there's like a real diversity here. That's sort of been the name for Xbox. And I don't really want to throw Doom Eternal in there because I was pre-acquisition timing. But Psychonauts is a platformer. Flight Sim is exactly what the name suggests. Deathloop's this stealth, but also action game hybrid. Ori 2 is a beautiful Metroidvania game. I mean, Gears Tactics is this turn-based game. I mean, there's so many different types of games that they're all doing really well. I think it's a very encouraging sign. And I think it's time for a little bit more respect. But I still stand by what I said a number of episodes ago, which is their biggest test is to get the flagship game right. So Halo Infinite needs to be done right. These are all encouraging. And I think over time, if we have let's say the games after Halo also review well, like Redfall and Starfield and Somerville and all these other games they're investing in, I think that maybe you could wash away Halo, but right now, to me, I think it's extremely important they get that right. I think it really will be the most encouraging sign of all that they are on the right direction, because then you'll see that they have taken something that was struggling in development, put it on the right track, did the right things managerial-wise, like let's get Joe Staten, and got it out in its best possible form. So to me, that's the only, like Craig said here, a little bit of a lingering question mark where I'm in on them. I think they're doing well, but this to me is their big test.
I'm always going to judge a publisher, whether it's a first party or otherwise, that by their recent work, right? So, back in the day, 2000, or earlier, Xbox was on fire, and I don't think anybody would deny, if they're being honest, they've had some rough years. So are they on a good track? I think so, but I'm always going to give props to the people who are doing the right thing at the right time. I don't care if the last 10 years have been garbage. If your last 12 months have been amazing, you're on fire. I mean, so yeah, is it time to give them props? Sure, they're doing some good work. I think I'm positive about the future, but I think that a lot of the games that are coming out right now, some of the ones he mentions here, Doom Eternal, Psychonauts 2, Deathloop, those weren't necessarily Microsoft greenlit projects. Now they had the foresight and they had the foresight to go ahead and buy those studios, those other publishers that were able to make these great games. They knew that there was an investment there that was worthwhile to make. But, in 2-3 years, they're going to be hitting on all cylinders. They've got all these studios lined up to be putting out stuff. Is it time to give them props? Maybe. But I think we have to judge that by the games that have come under their wing. And in full disclosure, I think that's going to hit. They're going to hit, and they're going to keep hitting for a while now. But I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse until we see some of that coming through.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, because some of these are you know, like Psychonauts 2, they did bring under their wing, but there's that, there was the Kickstarter. They were very independent before that. So yeah, I agree entirely. There are a couple of like asterisks next to some of these games here where I think, yeah, there is a call for some respect. They are helping put out some quality products. They're also, I think really the props I give to them is less of like, oh, they're making these great games. And I think they're assisting them in becoming better. So Psychonauts 2 became better because they gave them the ability to make boss fights, which I thought were one of the best parts of the game. Wasteland 3 was fully voice acted because Microsoft invested in that. So they're helping make these games better, where I trust that once we start to, as Ben said, see those full games, I feel like we'll start to see them hit. But once again, not to repeat myself, Halo. Get Halo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to get right.
Absolutely. Got to get the heavy hitters right, the core. Correct.
Defining Duke is brought to you by MeUndies. MeUndies believes that comfort is more than what's touching your skin. It's about feeling comfortable in your skin. And with that, we have to ask ourselves a very important question. When was the last time you stepped in front of the mirror with that underwear on and went, yeah, I'm so comfortable right now, and I look great? You know, it's probably one or the other most times, but you never had both. And with MeUndies, they offer classic colors to ridiculous prints. It's also that you can fully express yourself in your own unique way. But at the same time, it feels like you're sitting on a heavenly cloud.
And so with that, I gotta say, I recommend MeUndies.
So never leave your couch again with a MeUndies membership, a monthly subscription that sends new pairs right to your door. Each month, you'll choose new undies, socks, or a bralette and pick the style and color or print that feels the most you. Fun, right? Plus, enjoy discounted pricing, free shipping, and exclusive early access to new launches. Love your butt and get the membership. To get 15% off your first order and free shipping, go to MeUndies.com/Duke. That's MeUndies.com/Duke.
Number 3 goes to Ollie Reynolds. Hey, Dukes, hope you're doing well. During the 4-hour Sacred Symbols extravaganza, Colin reiterated his view that Xbox simply has no games, at least nothing that can compare to the likes of God of War and Spider-Man. What are your current thoughts on this? Personally, I love Colin, but I must respectfully disagree. The big hitters are on their way with Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 arriving this year, not to mention the bevy of first-party and Bethesda titles on the way in the coming years. In addition, Game Pass has allowed me to experience a vast number of titles that otherwise I would not have touched. Xbox has no games? Come on, man. Obviously, we're not here to throw shade at Colin, but more so, I just thought it was an interesting talking point that we just recounted a bunch of games that have come out, minus Deathloop. And I guess Deathloop kind of, it's on PC too. But
sure.
More to my point is we're seeing more games start to come out. We have a ton announced. I want to know how you gentlemen view their current situation this fall, because I tend to now with Day One Game Pass almost have that Xbox association of, yes, this is also on PlayStation, but this to me is an Xbox game. So Back 4 Blood is an Xbox game, in my opinion, just because that is clearly the number one most ideal way to play it, where you don't have to pay any money. But I want to know how you're feeling about this. Do they technically have games? Because you have stuff like Forza and Halo there, but then you've got a lot of Day One Game Pass deals floating around that are coming. In some cases, they're not, but a lot of them are coming to other consoles. Mm-hmm. So what do you feel about this situation?
This is a great debate, and this has been raging right now on ILP as well. And here's the thing: a shout out to Cobra Command, Kyle. That's what I call it, Cobra Command. Shout out to them. I know the sentiment, and the sentiment is the pop culture games, kind of what we talked about, Matty, on Ultimate just recently, are the games that are going to get a lot of buzz. We've seen PlayStation just announce Wolverine, Marvel, Spider-Man 2, God of War, these big AAA blockbuster experiences. And yes, they are going to garner a lot of interest, and a lot of casuals are going to come to it. But we have to be honest as far as what Xbox has been doing from a consistency standpoint from this year. You have things like Death's Door, which we were raving about. We have a lot of things on the platform from an indie standpoint that I don't like the idea that those don't count as games because they don't have the big flair, right? And it all comes down to the type of gamer you are. If you, the approach that Microsoft is doing that I truly like is the diverse mentality is going to get more people in the ecosystem, in my opinion, long term. And when you do the AAA blockbuster, those take times and there's gaps. So during these gaps of what the kids call them, the bangers that Sony's doing, Microsoft has steadily been putting out a lot of quality games in between that, and that can't be discounted. So ultimately, it comes down to the type of gamer you are. If you are a person who only likes those type of games, the hashtag just ones, the AAA experiences, then yes, Sony's got you. You're just going to have to wait between development. If you're a gamer that likes a diverse lineup of games, whether it be indie, shooter, racing, whatever, even those third-person narrative games and first-person, Xbox got you covered as well. It's all about what you value. And it's just funny, the no games are, I always find it's hilarious to me, but it's the gamer you are.
I think that, well, one, I think Colin was being a little bit tongue-in-cheek when he said that, just from my perspective of knowing him. But I think that Colin's coming from a perspective, and not, again, we're not just going in on Colin here. Look at the last eight-ish years of Xbox. I mean, what do we get? We get a couple of decent Gears of War games, right? Maybe even a couple of great ones. We get some not so great Halo titles, right? That haven't been going. Now, if you look to the future, we got lots of stuff coming. We got food for days. But I don't know if, even if it was tongue-in-cheek, if that statement's wrong, that if you're looking at the past, does Microsoft have anything in this example that hits like God of War or Spider-Man? Not yet, maybe. Not yet, at least not critically. I don't know about the actual reception as far as commercially, because Xbox hasn't revealed a lot of that stuff. But I mean, Sony has had some heavy hitters, and they're going to continue to have those heavy hitters. But I think Cog makes a good point that where we tend to overlook, let's just face it, they haven't had the big AAA knockouts like Sony has. Agreed. But you're right, they're getting these consistent good indie games. They're getting these consistent AA games that are coming through, and they're occasionally getting a nice breakout hit that we weren't expecting to be quite as good as it was. So I'm really hopeful for the future. I don't know if I can completely disagree with the Xbox. Let's rephrase it. Xbox has had no games. Does Xbox have games in the future? Yes. It is a positive outlook in my opinion. But I would agree that, look at the Xbox One generation. I don't think any of us were writing home to mom about all the great Xbox games coming out. So there's a little nuance there.
Baby.
Baby. The one that got away. Waiting for that sequel, baby.
I know. That and Sunset Overdrive.
Woo! Yeah, yes.
I mean, that's the thing, right? That's the one thing that bothers me about the Xbox One gen is like, you had it. Like, you had some ideas, but just they botched it so bad, no one wanted to work with them. And understandably so. No. So, I'm inclined to agree with Ben. I don't think... I lean on the side of like the day one Game Pass games are a part of that ecosystem, but I don't know if they necessarily count as Xbox having games. If we're looking at like raw exclusivities, those big heavy hitters, they are lacking. They're going to start to get them. They're coming. But I think they're smart by investing in indie as well. I'll always champion that because things like Somerville, even The Ascent, of course, we talked about Death's Door and many more. Last Stop, getting that on the system. These are smart investments in my opinion because it's just like those good. They're good in betweeners, right? Yes. They're good appetizers.
12 minutes.
12 minutes as well. Yeah, they take those chances, right? I'm happy those games exist, even if like sometimes they're mixed, right? The Ascent, 12 minutes seem to fall in that category. Number 4 goes to Cameron Belgrade. Thank you for writing in, Cameron. Greetings, Lord Cog and Matty, a.k.a. President of the Concerned Citizens Against Forza Horizon 5 Neighborhood Watch Group. After watching and looking at the reactions of the PlayStation Showcase, I want to pose a question. This one, by the way, is a question that has been floating around quite a bit, especially in our comment thread. Do y'all think there's a double standard when it comes to CGI trailers and Xbox/PlayStation? For example, the media had no problem with Wolverine or Spider-Man 2's trailers, but when Redfall and Starfield showed a CGI trailer, the same people in the media questioned the game's potential and said they shouldn't have showed anything at all. I understand the argument that Spider-Man 2 is a known quantity, but shouldn't we be encouraging original ideas and worlds as gamers? Harshly judging only original games' CGI trailers seems a little backwards to me. Thank you both for all you do. Very interesting debate we're going to have here as well. Who wants to get it started?
Ben, you want to jump it off?
I'll roll it off. I'm gonna hate on anything that's got a CGI only trailer. Anything, whether it's PlayStation or Microsoft or Switch or anything else. The reality, though, is my hype level is going to be directly dictated by what I know that studio can and has done. So if you look at Spider-Man 2, I know that Spider-Man and Miles Morales were amazing games by an amazing studio that has done other things I've loved. So I'm going to be a little excited for those. Would I rather see some gameplay? Sure. But I also already know what that gameplay is going to look like. Wolverine, first of all, like out of my chair hyped, maybe not actually out of my chair, but I'm very excited for it.
That was an out of the chair moment, I think. For
sure.
It was.
Yeah. Well, okay, so just to take a sidebar real quick, the out of the chair moment was not only about Wolverine, but it was Insomniac's Ready Again. Like maybe it's a few years, it's a few years away, but like we get another Insomniac game already. Let's go. Yeah. But so for Wolverine, I love Wolverine. So like that's going to be an instant win there for me. If the game's terrible, it won't be, but it's still Wolverine. It can't be worse than Avengers. We hope. But the other thing is that I again, it's coming from Insomniac, who I know is a great studio. Is it okay with me that it's a CGI trailer? No, not at all. I don't like CGI trailers. Are they a good, hey, this is coming, here's 30 seconds of Wolverine's bloody hands and his claws popping out, and does that make me a little pumped because one of my favorite studios is doing it? Absolutely. But no, CGI, I don't care what side it's on, sucks. Just give me gameplay or give me a title screen and that's it.
Yeah. I'll offer a small correction to Cameron with Starfield. That was in-engine gameplay.
That is true.
That's the thing I found so interesting about Starfield's discourse is right away people were like, CGI? Who gives a fuck? I'm like, oh, bad news for you. I don't know if the game will look that good, but bad news for you that Bethesda made something that actually looked graphically impressive enough that you thought it was CGI. That's a wow moment right there that I didn't expect to have this year, but I saw it a lot. I just want to jump in real quick and say that I agree entirely that with Insomniac's body of work, I think it's a lot easier to get excited for them knowing they're messing around with other superhero franchises beyond Spider-Man. Just like Cameron said, Spider-Man is a known quantity. So when we got the first one, I think that's one of the best superhero games ever created. Knowing they're doing another one in that series, yes, like, okay, instantly sold. You don't need to do much more, especially seeing Venom. You hear Kraven. I mean, there's just so much there that when we saw how they made like Mr. Negative, this compelling villain, I can't wait to see what they do with these other ones. So yeah, it's about knowing there. Beyond that, you got freaks like me with KOTOR. I get it. I look like the complete hypocrite of the century when I'm getting out of my chair screaming because they just showed a shot of Revan lighting his lightsaber up, and that was it. So I can't speak on that too much beyond that. It's been long overdue. I've been so hungry for that game. They could have shown a title card, and that would have just.
They could have shown a JPEG. You'd have been good.
Yeah, absolutely. If they just did the announcement that way, that would have been it. But
Matty, once again, there with KOTOR, it's a known entity to you, right? You love KOTOR. Yes, they're remaking it, so you have some excitement because of the past, not because like for me, Redfall isn't doing anything for me because all I've seen is the CGI. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about the game past that. Am I excited that there's a new game coming out? Sure. But like for you, with KOTOR and many people, like, the history, the past, that unless they really, really screw it up, it's going to be a game you love, right?
There's a lot of worry they're going to fuck it up. There's a lot of worry that, because like everyone's like, who the fuck is Aspire? Yeah. They find out they're just this studio that's been porting games for the last like 2 decades. And then there was these tweets going around about the writers, and it's been a shit show. And I'm just like, okay, well, it was fun to be excited and in a gleeful state for more than 24 hours before reality hit me in the face. But that's a topic and a conversation for another day. Cog, let's pass it to you. How do you feel about what could be a potential double standard for CGI trailers on PlayStation versus Xbox?
This is a good one. I'm going to push back a little. The reason why I'll push back, we got to push a little bit. Duke's got to push a little bit.
Got to get those biceps.
I feel where you going, Ben, as far as accurate representation. We are old enough to know the term vertical slice and what that means. I remember watching a PlayStation E3 and seeing a Killzone trailer and go, oh my God, this is great. And they were like, in real time. So we know, we've been around the block to know a lot of that stuff is not a true representation. Unless it says in engine, like Matty said, with Starfield, a lot of that stuff is not. To me, I guess the reason why I don't get so upset about it is, to me, I always feel the CGI trailer is great for your initial showing, to generate hype, to say, hey guys, we're working on this.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I get it. The purist, like King is with you. Like King is with you. He's like, don't show me that CGI crap. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. The only reason why I don't get crazy is because, shout out to one of the Halo Infinite devs just recently put out a statement. A lot of times, I didn't realize this, it's more of a recruitment tool for other developers to say, hey, we're working on this. And, you know, if you want to get down with it or whatever. And a lot of it is to garner interest, to help people get more on the project. So I didn't realize that it's more of a marketing tool for devs as opposed to just for the gamers themselves.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing to me. I never knew that. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So now here's where I am totally with you guys. On that second showing, you better not. You did your first. Yep. Hey guys, we're working on it. This is a like State of Decay. State of Decay is the perfect one. We know State of Decay 3 ain't looking like how, right, Matty, right? Yeah. We know that ain't looking like that. And I love State of Decay. So the next showing, we better see some gameplay. And the last reason I'll say I'll cut them a little slack, because I feel, not you guys, but some gamers are a little hypocritical. They'll say this, right? No CGI. And then the developer will say, okay, we're going to show pre-alpha. And they'll be like, oh, why'd you show that? Oh, you could have kept that to yourself. Or look at the frame. Then they measuring fruit physics and they do the puddle game. So it's like the devs can't win, bro. It's like if you showed them the pre-alpha of real gameplay, they'd be like, oh, this ain't next gen. And look at Craig face happen. And bro, so I you know, Team Cog always a little empathetic to the devs a little bit. Yeah. So you know, I get it. Just one time, you get a one pass with Cog. After that, no more.
I totally get that, and I'm with you. Yeah, like some, such as what Halo's been doing, has been egregious. I think is the most best way to define it, is the idea that they've showed us the gameplay and then just hit us with like 5 different CGI trailers since, and it's like, stop hiding, show me what you got. Yep. So yeah, I think that's I think it's a matter of patience too. If they have that, I'm totally okay. I shouldn't say totally okay. I can accept a CGI trailer if they're going the pattern that we all typically expect, which is CGI and then gameplay trailer, then full gameplay, and then like launch trailer. Right. That kind of loop is totally fine with me. We're accustomed to it. I think it works well. Because there is something to take from CG trailers if they're done properly. You can get a concept of the world. It's some, you know, I don't like when CGI tries to depict gameplay.
Yes.
But
you get the tone.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I thought that Starfield, even though it wasn't CGI, its trailer was effective, where I thought Redfall's was not really effective. Like I got a feeling that, okay, vampires, 4 players, comedy, what's going on? Okay, like it was a well shot trailer, and it was technically a good trailer, but as someone who's trying to learn about this game, let's just say I didn't know anything about it till it leaked. So
that's a good point.
You know, I think there's an important emphasis there that could be missed. But let's get into number 5. Then we got the news. Bearded Panda writes in, salutations, Mr. Matty Plays and Lord Cognito. With the last 2 Arkane Studios games that they have worked on getting horrible, which is Youngblood, and middling, this was an interesting choice of words we'll talk about in a second, Deathloop reviews. What are y'all's gut check on Redfall? Personally, I could not get myself to finish Dishonored. I have tried 3 times and absolutely love Prey, especially Prey Mooncrash. I'm getting really skeptical on Arkane's ability to nail their vision. Still excited, but saddened. Bearded Panda. I want to know what you gentlemen think about this, because I feel like Arkane, Deathloop, you know, look, for those who haven't seen it, my review's out there. I was not impressed with it. I thought it was a good game, but I thought compared to their previous body of work with Dishonored and Prey, it really came up short for me. But a lot of the media did not agree with that. Me and Carrick, former host of Defining Duke, though, we were on this island together. I was talking to him. I was like, bro, what the fuck happened? Like 10s? So look, I'll talk about that later. But what do you gentlemen think about Arkane's body of work and where they're trending? And after Deathloop, where I wouldn't say it's middling at all, I think it's excelling. What's the gut check on Redfall? Especially, we can talk a little bit about the leak. For those who don't know, there were some leak screenshots that came out. I checked them a little bit. I was just like, I'm going to wait for. I still trust Arkane. You know, I want to see the full thing. But where do you guys lie with them?
When I saw this question, I was like, how do I avoid going in on Bearded Panda? Because, as you said, Matty, Deathloop's got not that I put a whole lot of stock in Metacritic, whether I want to play a game or not, but it's got an 88. That's going to be really in the top 10% of games. Youngbloods, that was not a good game, but wasn't Machine Games the lead on that? I think
Machine
Arkane
Games led, yes. Arkane held like level design.
Yep.
I love Arkane. I'm not saying they can't do anything wrong. We know they have had performance problems in the past, etc. So don't anybody knock on Arkane. All right, that's not allowed. I already kind of mentioned my thoughts on Redfall. I'm excited for the idea of Redfall and for Arkane working on it. I love to see another Arkane game coming. They haven't given me anything to be excited about, so I'll cut it there. How you can take it?
Yeah, pretty much share the exact same thoughts. It's one of those things that the reputation is going to make me stay in the mix with this and see where it goes, right? That they just have this whole lineage, right? So we expect quality is what I'm saying, but right now I'm not all the way sold. I need to get more information. I tried to stay away from that. What is it? The leak, and here it goes, alpha footage, and you see our gamers. You see, this is why I kind of feel for the devs. It goes back to my previous thing: when your stuff leak or when I get out there and gamers, all of a sudden, every game is Digital Foundry. Every game will tell you about the textures and the resolution and the pop-in and all this. They out here slow-moing, slow motion in your game. It's crazy out there. So in defense, I'm gonna wait till they're ready to show the next iteration of it and just see. I'm in the middle. I don't know what to feel just yet until I get more, but I'm definitely not going to kill them for some alpha footage. But I'm curious, you were the one, besmirching the great name of Arkane. How dare you, man? How dare you?
Man, I caught some serious flack, for those who don't know, for my review of Deathloop. I stand by it. I genuinely think it was a good review. I don't try to put out shit. I think that over the years, if you want to look at my reviews in like 2013 and 14, those were bad reviews, but I was still learning then. Now I think because Carrick took me under his wing and he taught me a lot of his tips and tricks, I feel like I'm a much better reviewer. And so I stand by it. And what's interesting is what I said wasn't even that uncommon in the review space. Like, I was looking around because I was like, surely if I'm getting blasted, I got to be on this island here. I'm looking, like, I saw G-Man was saying the same thing. His respected reviewer, Carrick, was. And I'm like, they're saying we're like identical in our opinions for the most part.
Yep.
And it was just interesting. I think I just caught the crowd because my title's very like, it's underwhelming. And for me, it wasn't underwhelming in the sense of, this is a bad game. I said that right away in my review. I'm like, that doesn't mean it's bad. But I think a lot of people just ignored that. Anyway, when it stands with Redfall's an even further departure where Deathloop wasn't a departure outside of like a PvP mode that I don't think was bad. Just for me, it wasn't that fun. It wasn't as engaging, and it created like mild intensity. But for the most part, I was like, whatever. Someone's here. It's like, I've played Dark Souls before. I've seen this. But it really was them trying to do a lot of the same things that Dishonored and Prey did, just it's much worse in my eyes. I don't think it's as impressive. I feel like they missed the execution on some things. Oh, side note, it was actually really cool. The director of Deathloop reached out to me and he tweeted at me and he was like, I actually really liked your review because it's something that I look at when we're trying to make the game better. I'm like, look, I try to serve the consumer, but I make my reviews also so these folks can take that stuff and walk with it. So to me, that was, I thanked him. I was like, I really appreciate cool. you coming out and doing that, because look, when you're getting, that's a guy who cares. I never doubt that, but that's a guy who cares. When you're getting your fucking 10s, I don't know why you would care what I got to say, but respect for that, big time. So anyway, I'm rambling at this point. What I'm trying to say is, when it comes to Redfall, I currently sit in the side of the fence where I'm a little skeptical, because like I said, it's a further departure where this felt more like an emulation that came up short. Now they're going another step away from what they're doing. I'm like, okay, there's some shifts internally on how they want to design things, which makes sense. Their games have not done well critically. But also, I'm totally for a Arkane style game with co-op that has really good level design and it's an open world, and like all these different pockets that you encounter are these like intricate levels that you can go through windows. With that said, final point. One thing I noticed with Deathloop is compared to Dishonored and Prey, even the first Dishonored, there was far less like crawling into windows, going through buildings than anything I had seen from them. And so I'm wondering if that's because of the multiplayer. And now we're getting not 2 players potentially with Juliana and Colt. Now we're looking at 4 with Redfall. And I'm like, how much more are they going to limit it? So is it going to feel like Far Cry? So I'll hold my worries back, but I am a little skeptical after it's all said and done.
No, I respect it. I watched your video thoroughly in reference to the Deathloop thing, and I thought you made excellent points. And especially, first of all, shout out to you for getting, was it directed that hit you up? That's fire.
You did it publicly too. I thought you'd do it privately.
Oh yeah, I gotta send me that tweet. I gotta post that. But yeah, no, I love it, baby. Please do. Yeah, I love it because here's the thing. Like, I always go to people like that have that, besides their opinion, I trust, that has a reputation with playing the series. Like, you know, an Arkane game, and I'm going to value that. And I think that's important because at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be people that love it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as well. But when I watched your video, I love the things you pointed out as to why it wasn't like a bash fest. It was like, hey, I feel maybe because of the co-op here, structurally, this may have limited game design on some levels. You know, some things here, you know, you felt were a little repetitive, or the gameplay loop wasn't as fun here. Those are the type of things, especially with people who I consider veterans of a company or a series or a franchise. That critical stuff is important. So yeah, I love it. And the fact that when you listen to it, it's giving the proper feedback and a lot of information. So I think that stuff's great. So for me, shout out to you on that one. I did enjoy listening to your Deathloop review.
Thank you. It's, you know, because I try to keep it personally like under control, where like when I got something like Avengers or Godfall, I take the more comedic, like, what the fuck? Right? Like if anyone wants to see me lose my mind, go watch my Godfall review. That game, I still say to this day, that game is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. It sucks. It embraces its mediocrity, and it slaps you in the face with it. It's an insult. And so if you want to see me really lose it, like a lot of people are like, okay, I just got to touch on this.
Let's go.
I've never seen this in my life before, but on my Deathloop review, I'm like, let me see what people are saying. A lot of people were like happy I was just saying my thoughts. You know, I think a lot of people don't understand that I don't talk to other reviewers outside of Carrick and a couple of others. But when I'm reviewing something, I don't even really talk to people because I don't need their opinion. Like, I want to make sure it's my own. Right. It's just that simple. I don't give a fuck what they're saying. It's as simple as that. But when I'm going through the comments, there were people who legitimately, and it was a good number of them, who were like, this dude looks like he's on drugs. I'm like, yo, I'm like, fuck.
What's going on?
Yeah, I was like, wow. That was the one thing that got to me. I was texting my girlfriend. I was like, these people think I'm on drugs. I was like, they think that I just didn't like the game. They think I had to be on some fucking drug to have disliked it. I was in awe. I was like, that is something next level on denial.
Welcome to the Metacritic era, Brody. People are too in their feelings over a score. Like they put their self-worth into a score. Like, yo, you see, it's a banger. We. I'm like, bro, what is going on? It's like, this is an opinion. Like, at the end of the day, you go to people whose opinions you value, but even then, that's not the end all be all. We all love games. Get man.
No, I was just gonna say, I always don't subscribe to, because I feel like a lot of reviewers do like the hands up. My opinion. It's just my opinion, bro.
Right.
It's my opinion. You can't get mad at me. It's like you gotta have a well constructed opinion,
of course.
Right.
Of course.
And it's like if you fail to do that, then you might deserve your blowback. But I don't mind. You know, I expected it. Once I woke up and I saw the first tweet I saw was, Matty, you're on an island. With this one, I was like, okay, fuck. Here we go. I'm prepared.
Well, just re-review it when it comes to Xbox. I'm sure you'll give it a 10 then.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I gotta do my Xbox Sony pony shtick, right? Exactly. Gotta play the hard to get game here. Keep up a public image.
I love it.
This summer, Bespoke Post is here to take your adventures to the next level with a new lineup of must-have Box of Awesome collections. Bespoke Post partners with small businesses and emerging brands to bring you the most unique goods every month. I'm personally a big fan of the Weekender, which is a beautiful canvas bag with leather handles and metal hardware. It just screams quality, and I know that I'll be using it for future trips. I'm also a big fan of Juiced, which is a beautiful wireless charger that is wrapped in Italian pebbled leather. Not only does it sound fancy, it is fancy, and it looks way better than any wireless charger I've ever had. No matter what you're into, Box of Awesome has you covered. From travel and outdoor gear to breezy summer styles and grooming goods, Box of Awesome has collections for every part of your life. Before working for Last Stand full-time, I was actually a bartender myself, and the alchemy kit they have looks like the perfect starter kit for anyone who wants to get into cocktails. So to get started, take the quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help them pick out the right Box of Awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel at any time. Each box only costs $45, but it has over $70 worth of gear inside. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter code DUKE at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code DUKE for 20% off your first box.
All right, we got some really good news this week, so let's get into it. Number one, GeForce Now is NVIDIA's own cloud gaming service, but what you're likely hearing about it lately revolves around one major happening. GeForce Now has suffered a major leak, and now tons of unannounced games have spilled onto the internet. This all began with developer Igor July, who managed to data mine NVIDIA's servers and unearth a slew of exciting upcoming games. Documenting his research on Medium, it showed that he uncovered the likes of BioShock 2022, PC versions of God of War, Returnal, and Demon's Souls Remake, Halo 5 on PC, BioShock Ray Tracing Remaster, Final Fantasy IX Remake, Kingdom Hearts 4, shout out to Dustin, Fight for Middle Earth, Injustice 3, Gods Will Fall, GTA Trilogy Remaster, Crysis 4, Bayonetta 3 for PC, and plenty more. With PlayStation's recent support of PC, Square Enix's vocal commitment to more Kingdom Hearts, and Injustice developer NetherRealm's announcement of moving on to their next project just last month, it could be safe to take the rest of this list as legitimate. However, NVIDIA isn't going down without a fight. If you ask them, they'll claim there's nothing to see here. Quote, NVIDIA is aware of an unauthorized published game list with both released and or speculative titles used only for internal tracking and testing. Inclusion on this list is neither confirmation nor an announcement of any game, end quote. Separately, 343 Industries Community Director Brian Gerard has stated the team has no plans to bring Halo 5 to PC at this point in time. Despite that, Video Game Chronicles was able to verify with its sources Resident Evil 4 Remake is real, which was on this list too. Kotaku had verified with its sources that GTA Trilogy Remaster was real, and Jez Corden as well as Matt Brown of Windows Central Gaming made note of a lot of internal code names being used by Xbox were featured in the data mine. Project Holland, Project Typhoon, Project Woodstock, and Oxide are all titles that those with their ear to the ground would be able to pick up on. Indeed, Project Holland is as real as it is ever before, considering it was announced as Fable from Playground Studios, which was revealed in 2020, while Project Typhoon comes in the form of the more recently unveiled Contraband, which hails from developer Avalanche. The reason all these unannounced games are on the service is because Windows Central Gaming reports that NVIDIA's GeForce Now and other related cloud streaming services have become an important factor in development for games, allowing for remote access in a work-from-home environment. All right, gentlemen, how are we feeling about what we saw on that list?
Listen, man, who left the laptop in the bar? Remember when Game Leaks used to have it like that? So it just I believe this stuff, man. This is the one. A lot of this, I believe. We've had Jez on, obviously on Defining Duke, and when he's confirming a lot of these project code names, a lot of stuff comes across his desk, is Fable and all this stuff. I've heard that code name as far as like Avalanche and all that other stuff. So yeah, Typhoon. I remember the emojis, typhoons, dragons, and shout out to
Jez was really having a fun time with that.
yeah, they're having a ball with it. So they come across documents internally and they see what these things are. Yeah, GeForce Now, you messed up, man. Like, so somewhere they got a hold of it. It's pretty exciting. To the titles, man, I can see every single one of these on some level. It makes sense. A lot of them, Kingdom Hearts, the Final Fantasy, Injustice. I mean, look, these are huge games. Now, it sucks for the devs. Obviously, they lose the wonder of the announcement. But yeah, I think these are coming out. These are pretty powerful things. What about you guys? What are you guys thinking?
I'm
Tell
excited.
me. Sorry, go ahead, Matty.
I was gonna say I'm excited. There's a lot on that list that I just played Final Fantasy IX for the first time this year, right? I love this game. It's so good. Its story is really good. Its gameplay, like, not good. So seeing that it could get remade, like what I felt when I finished it was, wow, people wanted 7 remade over this. Not that 7 shouldn't have been remade, but just I think 9 is such a heartfelt tale. So seeing that in a remake category when its gameplay was its main shortcoming because of its age, oh man. If it's in the vein of Final Fantasy 7, we are going to be eating good. But also I like that PlayStation seems to be embracing the PC game a little bit more here.
Yeah.
God of War Returnal and Demon's Souls. I remember Demon's Souls Remake. Wasn't there a trailer with like an end card that mentioned that it was coming to PC and they took it down?
Oh,
so
that was mistake. That was not. Yeah,
that's such bullshit.
I don't believe Nvidia for one main reason. There's a lot of reasons, but the main reason. Okay, so they're saying this is an unauthorized list. These games, they're on there because we need them for work from home type situations. And you know what? Okay, Demon Souls even maybe. Halo 5, sure. BioShock Remaster. Okay. All these games that haven't come out yet, or just recently have come out in the last year. Why the hell did they need a work from home option for God of War when it released in 2018? There is no reason for a back end listing for God of War to be on Steam unless the game's coming to Steam. I don't So one, I'm very excited too. But two, I think it's not only cool that we are getting probably, somewhat of a confirmation here that these games are going to be coming to PC or are even in development at all, but also that they're coming to GeForce Now. Now, I'm not a GeForce Now user, but if you're somebody who uses GeForce Now, there's a ton of great games that you'll be able to play that are just phenomenal. And I mean, I can't get over some of the announcements here, but that one thing just makes me think like maybe there's a couple of these that aren't. But there's no reason for God of War to have a PC Steam listing in 2018, April of 2018, even if it's not coming to PC right now.
Completely agree. Shout out to Nixus. They out here. It makes sense to me. They were recently announced as the PC porting PlayStation Studio. Makes sense to me, brother. I'm not surprised. I love the legalese. We hear that. We don't. That does not confirm nor deny. I love the wiggling. It's just great. Like you got caught.
They gotta be such boring ass people in real life. Like my God. I'd really like that. It seems like there's another Middle Earth game coming. I wanted to play. Was it Shadow of War? That was the second one. I still haven't played that because I remember when it did come out, there was that big microtransaction kerfuffle surrounding it where I think there was like pay to win stuff, and then they removed it like a little bit under a year after the game had come out because people had stopped playing it. So they're like, okay, it's a better game now because no one's gonna play it and then give us money. I'd heard it was really grindy to get like the true ending. So I'm curious to see what they do next because I love Lord of the Rings. I'm surprised there aren't more games in that universe that are taking inspiration from Middle Earth. And especially now Middle Earth is a little more exciting because the Nemesis system being fully trademarked. It's like, this is the only place we're going to see that.
Yeah. Huge. That was a game changer at that time for the gen, just something to expand on as far as AI and relationships and things like that. I always thought that was pretty cool. Also, I forgot, Injustice is big for me.
I was going to ask you about that, man.
Yeah, fighting game genre. You know how I get about that. DC, little, superhero action. See what the gods wait for. I love the title,
Yeah, I love that title already.
Yeah, I'm excited. That was definitely for me, for sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this list of games. BioShock 2022, a little bit sooner than I expected. I thought that'd be further off if that ends up being accurate. Where are you guys on this? Because what I wonder is the setting for the next BioShock game, right? Like Rapture, is it in the sky? Like I remember shout out to Ham Radio, me and Lone, when Lone was just a YouTuber and he wasn't senior community manager of Bethesda. He and I made a video of like, where will BioShock, we call it BioShock 3, where will that be set? right? And we had like bounced around these ideas of like something similar to Prey, like you're in a space station or you're like underground instead of underwater, like you're underground in this sort of like cave system. Because it's always about like getting away from the mainland, and whether it's above or below. And I can't think of anything else. Like, do they return to the drawing board and redo something that's been done before, or they try something new with its setting? Do you guys have any ideas on that? Because I always find it interesting what people suggest.
I mean, the only option, if it's not going to be underwater, it's not going to be in the sky. It's probably not going to be something boring like on Earth. I mean, space.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
I feel like that's
really the only remaining thing.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see it.
Yeah. But beyond that, any other games we want to talk about on this list? Little Kingdom Hearts 4?
Yeah, I'll get right on that. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. That's not for me. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to Dustin. Shout out.
Yeah. Dustin really caught some flack with his love of Kingdom Hearts at the live event. That was funny.
Classic moment.
It's funny because like I love that Dustin's like the figurehead for Kingdom Hearts love, because I just coast under the radar as a Kingdom Hearts fan. So it's like no one knows.
Yeah, you don't get the smoke for it. That's true.
No one knows. They like I love it. I grew up playing it. It's one of my favorites. But like Dustin can get all the flack. I'm just gonna keep like sifting through. It's like, oh, Kingdom Hearts. I do think it's stupid, but you know, it's a good type of stupid.
So good, man.
All right. Oh, and of course, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh yeah.
Anything you guys wanted to add with that one?
Ben?
No, I don't have anything to add. I mean, we know that it's coming, right? So it being on PC is not a surprise.
Yeah, it's a logical progression also for the other three.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess the one other one I saw. I'm looking at a list right now. I don't see it on there now, but wasn't Crash Team Racing on one of these lists?
Ooh.
It was a very long list.
Yeah.
I tried to grab the highlights, and there was a ton in there.
I know that. I mean, it coming to GeForce Now. All I'm thinking is I don't want to play a game that kinetic and relying upon my input on GeForce Now. But that's just my thoughts. Is all. Yeah. I know Cog's the cloud gaming guy, so
cloud is a great option. But when it comes to like competitive and like if I'm going to do some serious PvP or some serious competitive racing and stuff like that, and fast Twitch stuff, of course, local hardware will always be superior.
I got a term for you. It's not like a haircut game.
Yeah.
You know, when you're waiting to get your shape up and you're sitting
it ain't that. I like that though.
Yeah, that's like the term, right? Like if to pick up and play cloud game, it's a haircut game.
It's the haircut joint.
Number 2, of course, your boy had to put this on the news list. PlayStation held an impressive showcase in the last week, and with it came hefty announcements. Some of the most significant showings came in the form of Lucasfilm and Marvel IP. One of those very reveals had a lineage on Xbox for nearly 2 decades, and now its next iteration is heading off to PlayStation as a timed exclusive. That game is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake. The original Knights of the Old Republic released in 2003 as an Xbox exclusive from developer BioWare. 1 year later, a sequel arrived from now Xbox first-party studio Obsidian Entertainment. Since then, this franchise has been within the Microsoft ecosystem as it's available on PC too. Deeper into the game's life in 2015, developer Aspyr Media took the reins of these classics and touched up Knights of the Old Republic 2 on Steam to allow for workshop support, 4K resolution, controller support, achievements, and plenty more. This same developer also handled porting games to mobile devices and tablets. Now they are at the helm of this remake, which my reports say is aiming for a late 2022 drop, but could slip into 2023, and that's likely to do so. Brett Medlock is our first write-in on this question. Matty, do you think I should play the OG KOTOR before the remake, or just wait since I've waited this long? Stay sexy, Dukes. I'll make this one quick for you, Brett. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because here's the thing. I've always said this with every remake ever. You don't know if it's going to do what the original did. The original is good and people want it to be remade for a reason. See what people are looking for. KOTOR is not a long game. First one's about 20 hours. Second one, if you go into it, 30. Not super long. They're highly replayable if you want to go back. But yeah, you should go into it. Now with that, gentlemen, before we get into our next patron question for this topic, I really want to ask how you're feeling about KOTOR Remake, of course, from the angle of it existing, but really that Xbox let this one slip. Even if it's a timed exclusive, they let this one slip. A game with Xbox legacy, and how we're feeling about that as well.
I'll jump in. I don't like it. I don't like it. The optics do not feel good to me. You know, it gives me Mass Effect 1 vibes, and I believe I talked about this a little bit on Ultimate that we did.
Yeah.
And I get it. Aspire, correct? Let me make sure I get it. I want
Yes.
the Cowboys
Yeah,
out there.
Aspire. You were good.
Out here calling it Asper. They go, Cowboys.
I made that mistake for a while. Trust me.
So, you know, Aspire, I get it. The reputation might not be the greatest, right? We have to see how it pans out. If, like you said, man, you make great points. You play the original just in case anything is lost in translation or change. We get it. But that IP was synonymous and debuted, it birthed on the Xbox platform. And it just bothers me to see that type of thing happen, because I don't feel if the roles were reversed with the other platform holders, with Nintendo, I don't see Nintendo saying, oh, you know, this game is now going to debut on PlayStation or vice versa, like, especially when the initial version of it. So it just, I always, when things I don't understand bother me, I always try to pull myself back or say, put in my corporate cog, what is the boardroom saying? Right? What are they saying? What's going on in their mind that they're saying, you know what? We're gonna outbid them. Because it's one thing, Matty, like to say it's gonna be multi-plat. Right. And you say, okay, I don't value it enough to keep this exclusive anymore. I get that.
Yeah.
But to say, oh, we're gonna take the girl that you had and we're over. And granted, it's timed exclusive for 2 years or whatever. It just, the optics don't feel good. I just don't understand. And we know this is a beloved IP. Like, this is not like, Matty, your channel, this is one, like the BioWare, I'm a Mass Effect guy, and the BioWare heads come to me and say, look, your Mass Effect's great and all, but KOTOR is the GOAT. You know, KOTOR is and I can't really fight them on it, right? KOTOR has that reputation, and it's Star Wars. So it's like, what is going on internally that the decision has been made? You know what? We fold. We'll stay out of this one. PlayStation, you go ahead. You get
Especially
this.
with it being timed, that's not as much of an investment monetarily as full-on exclusivity.
Help me, Ben. Help me from not stressing out here. What's the mentality?
I can't do it. I'm with you on this. But Matty, I think you said on Ultimate that you had heard Xbox was in talks for this, and they ended up backing out.
To reiterate for those who don't have the ability to listen or anything, I was told that they had been involved. They tried, but that PlayStation wanted it more. And so that's the thing I emphasized in my video about like Marvel and Star Wars games on Xbox, and I said on the show was like, yeah, they did try, but to me, the fact that they had the ability to, and with the Microsoft money you got, I feel like that's something you want to lock down. Because the perspective I offer is, what if, of course, we've now seen what happens. PlayStation intelligently, Final Fantasy VII, right? It's a PlayStation 1 game. It's exclusive to that platform. Guess what PlayStation did? They got that remake, and it's locked down there. It's presumably coming to PC, but it's been locked in there.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, if that came to Xbox as a remake, like what? Of course, Xbox fans wouldn't complain. But my point is, that's the optics we're looking at it from. And maybe that seems a little old school for people, but I think that you've got to be protective of what you helped build. And even if it's not BioWare anymore, KOTOR should call your systems home, as they have for almost 2 decades. But anyway, Ben, you were about to say something before
I was just all of that. I'm just wondering, I agree that the Xbox, this is their legacy, or not their legacy, but they've got this legacy on their system. Should they have fought harder for it? Probably. But part of me wonders, after we're seeing, we see Spider-Man, of course, we're like, okay, Sony's got the film rights to that, whatever. Now we see Wolverine. That's not a Sony property. So there was some did Disney and, and thereby Lucas Arts, Lucasfilms, whatever, Star Wars, basically say, look, we already trust PlayStation right now. Yeah. They're coming in with an offer that's pretty similar or even higher. We could give it to Xbox because it's on their platform, but look, we know that PlayStation's got a Marvel fan base. We know that there's more people there playing our games and in the future than anywhere else. And because Marvel and Star Wars are owned by the same people now, maybe that was a consideration. I think also, there's a little bit, maybe it's a strategic move. We know that the people who have been Xbox fans for a long time are in on this game. Maybe it's time to open it up to a new audience. Now, I still think that Xbox should have fought to get it for at least a synonymous release. But
Yes.
maybe it wasn't Xbox's decision. Maybe they said, "We'll give you you tell us what you want us to write on the check, and we'll write it." And they said, "No, we want this over here."
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't know is like how that deal. And obviously, anyone who was in that room would be the only ones who know. But the message was they tried, and so it's a matter of they seemingly let it slip. And I don't think that should be happening. But on the level of Aspire Media making this, of course, I've been following these folks for years, so I'll share my opinion afterwards. I want to know from the perspective of you two who really haven't been up to your ears in this stuff. They come out and they're making this game. I had reported it. We talked about it on the show, but they're still relatively new to your radar. How do you feel that they are now officially making this remake?
Jury's still out. That we have to see quality at the end of the day. That is something we have to stand on. It is interesting to me when I hear companies like this get these opportunities, because I'm very curious to see. Almost reminds me of the Dead Space situation. Like, I'm very curious to see how closely tied they are to BioWare in the original source material and developers, because these are beloved franchise. You can't play around and mess this up. That is a critical. When the fan base is that passionate, it is extremely critical that you get the core tenets of what this should be about. That we have to see. And in what I see a lot of the Xbox community say is, it's Aspire though, right? Kind of thing. Now, I don't want to put aspersions on them like this is definitely going to be bad, but we do have to go by their track record. I gotta call out my man Matty right now. Like, when he heard EA Motive, he wasn't popping bottles for Dead Space. Be real, like,
very good point. No, very good point. No, I was keep going. I was saying this is a really good point.
Yeah, it's so in fairness, as much as I don't like this happening to Xbox, this particular studio development house has to prove themselves. Like, just say that, and that's where I'm at with it. So I wish them the best. Hopefully they do it. I still struggle, even though I know you said that they tried Xbox to be. I just struggle to hear the wallet of Microsoft losing in defeat. Like, I just struggle with their own. I mean, it just doesn't sound good to me any way you spin it. Like, to me, we said in the Ultimate, there has to be an internal decision to say, you know what? Maybe these type of games, when we had them on our platform, this is what the numbers really do. Maybe they're privy to metrics that I don't know. And they just say, hey, this game and this superhero game and this Star Wars game, when we had it, it didn't really do that much, and I'm not willing to invest that. And maybe that's what it is. So, Ben, help me, man. I'm still frustrated. I'm still feeling away.
well, with Aspire, I mean, I can't think. I mean, I know they've done a lot of port work and stuff like that, and obviously it's easier to port a game than to develop it from the ground up. I'm not discouraged by the fact they're doing it, simply from the fact that of all their ports, I mean, I'd have to look through a list, but I'm sure I've played some of them, right? So I would imagine that unless I've heard their name dragged through the mud in the past, they're at least a decent studio, right? Now, again, this is a little different than porting a game. They're remaking it from the ground up, presumably. They've worked on the KOTOR games as porting them in the past. So, like, I would imagine there's some lineage there with some connection, at least in the studio, even if not with particular people. The thing that really makes me a little bit trepidatious is that we haven't seen a whole lot of original games from them that have hit. Now, again, it's not a totally original game. They've got presumably their own ideas about how to make it different, about how to make it a little better in certain areas, etc. But I'm not discouraged by the fact they're doing it. I'm just also not jumping out of my seat because they're the studio for me.
Yeah. I think that perspective is really valuable to have, because you got someone like me who's tracked their work, and I'm on the same boat as you guys, by the way, where I think they got to earn it. I think they've done a good job with their ports where, it's not as easy to take a game like KOTOR and make it function really well, where like the iPad is a pretty ideal place to play it. And that's not obviously going to encourage you that they're going to make a remake for next gen consoles in a quality manner. But I'm just saying that they have tackled a number of tasks, and I thought they've done them well. That's where some of my frustration also came from with Xbox letting it slip, is I feel like this was their pathway to being like, we got our Blue Point now, who can remake and remaster stuff for us. And I feel like that was the long-term thing you were looking at by nurturing that relationship. So, I mean, because there's very few studios like Aspire floating around or Blue Point floating around. You want to make them attracted to your platform. So now PlayStation getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
Dangerous, very dangerous, and smart by them. But yeah, Aspire has to earn it for sure.
Yeah.
We got one other question about KOTOR. This is more about the content of the game, because obviously with it being a remake, naturally things will change. This is something that I talked about at the top of the show, where there's been criticisms floating around about the studio talent. Kramerica writes in, Sam Max being tied to KOTOR, does this concern you at all? She has said previously KOTOR is not her favorite Star Wars game specifically, and it is, according to Kramerica, a very divisive person in the video game community. I want KOTOR to be amazing, and maybe she will be great. Personally, it has stopped me from being all in on this remake. Do you think this is warranted? It seems like a lot of fans are not happy about her involvement. Ooh. This was a really big set of breaks for a lot of people with this remake. For those who don't have the proper context, what happened was, and I don't really like this approach. Cog and I talked about it last week with digging up tweets or taking tweets and trying to run for people's jobs with a tweet. What happened was this writer, this person had announced, Sam, that she was writing for KOTOR Remake, and people immediately went to her Twitter and they found like 2019, she said like KOTOR is not my favorite, which questions the passion. And then there was a lot of like, we'll say antagonistic replies to the Star Wars fandom. And the way I view it, to start things off, is I don't begrudge her for getting a job. I do think that really, if anything, you take a look at Aspire more than her and say like, well, why are you hiring what someone would consider incendiary talent, is how I would view it. I don't think it's a question of her body of work, although I know I think worked on Anthem and other Andromeda. So BioWare games that haven't been encouraging. So yeah, I know Cog's eyes are popping out of his head.
I didn't know any of this. I'm learning.
Yeah. So it's that's the thing, is a lot of people are getting wrapped up in a lot of her social views and stuff. And I almost feel like at this point that doesn't matter, because to me, her body of work would be less encouraging. You know, that's how I view it right now. But I want to make this a more well-rounded discussion. We'll get into it a little bit more, because like I said, this has been the major thing with KOTOR Remake since it got announced, was like, okay, who's Aspire? They start looking into talent. They see this and they're like, only thing I'll throw in there is she is just a writer. If she's like one of a team of like 8,
okay,
that's much less concerning. It's much less concerning because even let's take Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote, by the way, lead writer of the original KOTOR. Guess what he wrote on? Anthem.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Great writers are not magicians.
Good.
Right.
So even if you have a top tier talented writer on your team, it's encouraging, right? Like I remember back then, like when Chris Avellone was writing on stuff, like you could feel his impact. And so you can feel a negative impact too, but even the most positive and dedicated, talented writers cannot salvage what is a bad team of writers. So I feel like what is required here is, I would call for a little more patience. I think skepticism is completely warranted and understanding, but I think let's see the rest of the team of writers identify what their body of work is, and then we can talk about, with the changes that will naturally come to this game, should we be concerned with what their body of work suggests about the talent that's there. But that's my stance on it all.
Well, you talk about, needing the rest of the team of writers, and that's true. Let's also not forget that Star Wars is one of the most beloved and guarded IP in the world. So I don't think that one person can walk into this beloved game from a beloved franchise. Like, the only people who have ever hurt Star Wars are the people who make it. So I don't think you can pin this on one person, especially not only with the writing team, but also with the guard that they're going to have over the IP at Disney and Lucas. So I'm not concerned about it. Again, it's one person on a team. Let's say they have some negative impact. I'd be much more concerned, and maybe, this remake will be more of a reimagining than a remake. We don't know that yet for sure. But I'd be much more concerned if this was a new Star Wars game than in a Star Wars game that has to follow. I mean, it's got to have some of the same plot points. It's got to have some of the same progression. It has to follow the basic rules of KOTOR and Star Wars as we've seen in the past. So, yeah, may there be some extra dialogue options you don't love? Sure, possibly. But is this going to be a disaster for the game? We'll see. I don't think so.
Yeah. Like, just for perspective, like the lead writer for Aspire is Courtney Woods. And I feel like that could be the talking points. Courtney Woods wrote for Knights of the Fallen Empire, which is apparently a very good expansion for SWTOR, the MMO.
Yeah.
She did Dragon Age Inquisition, The Descent, which I think is one of the best lore-wise, and that's really important for KOTOR.
Yeah.
DLC for Inquisition, where Inquisition, the base game, wasn't great, but this was like a small, compact story that was good. She also wrote on Andromeda. So take that as you will. But I think like that's another talking point. Like you can look up another one's Jessica Selinsky, who's a senior writer at Aspire Media. She joined in April of 2021. So they've been hiring for this game. It says here she wrote for Star Trek Timelines, shipped games including Game of Thrones, Ascent, Star Trek Timelines, The Walking Dead, March to War. So, you know, I feel like that's where we should be looking instead of one person, the collective talent, because that's how I do it for literally anyone else. I understand, and I'm not even trying to defend her because I don't agree with her views, by the way. But I don't. I think, you know, I'm of the mindset that like a double negative doesn't bring us into a better spot. I'll just leave it at that.
Respect the objectivity.
Yeah. And so, you know, I just feel like despite that being clearly like a point a lot of people are hanging on, that I think we should look at the collective talent. But Cog, where are you at with this?
I think both of you said amazing points. Really not too much to expound on. Just, you know, you have to look at it as a collective. I look at, right? You know, even though it's one person, first is an established IP as well with their own directive. They're going to have to work within the frame rate of what Lucasfilms tell them or whatever, right? So at the end of the day, that's one thing. Two, you made a fantastic point about Drew Karpyshyn, which I didn't even realize how I have him in revered status. Like that's, you know, Mass Effect stuff and all, you know, all that stuff too. So, and they was on Anthem, and Anthem ain't out here critically acclaiming anything.
No.
Yeah, critically acclaimed canned.
Failure. Yeah.
Exactly. So it goes to show you, you know, each project is different. You gotta look at the sum of the parts. You know, as you know, Cog's famous saying, what Cog does not care about. You know, so race, religion, ethnicity, politics, sexuality. I don't care about that. You know, do you deliver a good product, and can you deliver what this game requires of you? That's it. And again, it's not just you. If they would have been like the lead director, the lead, like more of an authoritative position, maybe I look a little deeper. But even even then, it's still the collection of the parts. So I don't, you know, it's one of those things. It remains to be seen when this comes out. We'll judge it accordingly. And take it at that.
Absolutely. I just thought it was a worthwhile talking point because it's really,
absolutely.
Obviously I'm seeing it much more in others because of my love for the series but I thought it was important to float in here. So
no, absolutely. I didn't know any of this. This is great stuff.
Number 3, back to the Xbox stuff. 343 has announced when the next flight test will be, and it's very soon. So make sure you're all signed up as a Halo insider. On September 24th, PvP will be extensively tested. Let's try that again, as it will include Team Slayer and Big Team Battle, including a new map to experience. Furthermore, a training mode will be added to the Academy, with bots returning as well. Community director Brian Gerard, again, took to Twitter when asked about how easily it will be to get in compared to the last flight test. Quote, "Definitely much bigger target this time. I'm hoping every eligible insider gets invited. If millions suddenly sign up, maybe not, but that's a good problem to have," end quote. So, gentlemen, new flight test coming. We excited?
Yeah, Slayer, Big Team Battle.
This will be a defining moment, I think, for the game, because we talked about the bots, the limited maps. We don't know how the spawn's going to work, how like that player interaction is going to feel. So this will be the first, I think, real test. It was mechanically sound. We saw with the bots.
Yeah.
But this will be the first real test. So I'm looking forward to it. Ben, where are you at with this one?
I'm really excited to see how it goes. I was much more encouraged about Infinite after the last flight for sure, but I'm not interested in playing it. I've been more on the I don't want to see trailers. I don't even like watching previews if I'm at the theater, which hasn't happened in a long time now. But well, I'm not a fan of that. I like going into stuff blind. Once I see the initial, hey, this is coming, I'm either in or I'm not. And if I'm not, maybe another trailer could convince me. But if I'm in, I don't need to be in any further. So I know I'm going to be in on Halo. I don't need to play the flight. I'm not even in the insider program, so I wouldn't even get an invite either way. But even if I could, I don't know that I would do it, because for me, I want that, like, it takes, for me personally, the magic out of release day. Like, there's something that still harkens back to the olden years where you had to go to GameStop or Target or wherever and wait in line to pick up that game the day. I still crave that feeling. And with these things, they're great. I know people are thirsty for the game and thirsty for lots of games. For me, I don't want to play it, but I think it's awesome that they're going to get more people in, that they're doing another flight already, and that they're going to open it up to more people. That's only a good sign to me. So I'm encouraged by that. I'm still a little skeptical about the entire thing as far as release date and whether they're going to be ready or not. But I'm looking forward to it. Cog, I know you probably already got your calendar marked off for this.
Like, you made some good points though, because after you said that, I realized I was such a hypocrite with certain releases, because generally I feel like you do. Like, I generally feel like, yo, sometimes, like, I already touched it enough. I know what it is. I'm good. I don't want to spoil anymore. When it's something beloved. But then there's other times, Matty, I get weak. And I'm like, damn. And for this, big team battle is important to me, because I want to see how the scale battle. That's another aspect of Halo, those big scale battle. And one cool thing I want to mention from the flight notes, the insider notes, which shout out to 343. They do have extremely detailed flight notes.
Yeah,
that I thought was interesting, that the prior bot only matches helped them with server load. And as a result, they were saying that what they seen was so promising that they're super confident that with the servers reserved, that the actual player versus player experience would be even more similar, more robust, because they kind of push things to their limit with the AI bot stuff. So I thought that was interesting, that the AI bot stuff helped them get data to substantiate an experience with PvP. So to me, player versus player, big team battle. I'm gonna be weak, man. I'm jumping in.
You gotta do it.
I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in. Normally, I try to stay strong, but big team does. I need to see it. And we ain't getting no campaign, right, Matty? So it's like, might as well see something.
Yeah, right. Might as well see a little something.
That's where I'm at.
Keep the expectations realistic. It's funny. I've been hopping into Master Chief Collection, just multiplayer. I haven't really dove back into the story. I don't know if I'll have the time to with all these reviews, but I've been diving into it, just playing the multiplayer. And I will say this, okay? Playing a lot of Halo 3 multiplayer, and I'm missing some of that mobility that Infinite's got. Because Infinite felt like a Halo game, but 3 is so pure, right? And I understand. It's not I'm saying it's bad, but I'm just saying, like, it's so pure. It is what it is. But I do get a little bit of a feeling like I'm dragging my feet through the sand, through the mud. Like I feel a little slow, a little floaty. I liked how Infinite felt a lot. And I feel like going back has sort of solidified that, which, I've already said. I thought it was a very mechanically sound game. But really going back, not that Master Chief Collection is bad by any means. It's amazing. But there's an adjustment there. And even when I adjusted, I was like, I kind of missed a little sprint. I think I'm team sprint all of a sudden. I don't know.
Nice.
I got to play some more and figure it out, because, each Halo game has their own feel. So even the Bungie ones. Yep. But man, I've been running into some guys who are just next level. I mean, when you're playing someone who's been playing since like the 2000s, right? It's scary. Like, you just walk in there, just pop, like they're spawn camping you. Like there have been some matches where you're like,
that ray gun level.
Yeah, honestly, man, it was tough, but it's been fun to reconnect with Halo.
Absolutely.
Number 4, speaking of Halo Infinite, its biggest competitor of December 2021 has vanished and reappeared for a new release on February 4th, 2022. That competitor is Dying Light 2, which explained in a post on Twitter that the game is complete and they are now extensively testing the game to ensure polish for its release. Dying Light 2 was originally announced in 2018 with a plan to launch in spring of 2020, before an indefinite delay was announced in January of 2020. Later, a new release date was revealed to be December 7th, and we know the rest now. Now the game joins much more competitive release window, going against the likes of Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, Rainbow Six Extraction, Pokemon Legends Arceus, a new expansion for Destiny 2, and Sifu. And I'm sure many more will join that period. So where are we at with Dying Light 2, gents? This one, I thought that they were going to commit. I gotta be honest. I thought they were going to commit. But what's interesting about Dying Light 2, before I pass it off to you guys, I just want to throw it out there, is there's something with the media buzz for this game that feels a little off. Mm-hmm. The reason I say that is because, and Ben, we've talked about this, is like they'll send me stuff in the mail, like a random Dying Light 2 hat or like a little letter, and they'll be like, embargo lifts on the 19th. And then like the 19th will come, you know, I'm not really, I forget, and I look and no one's talking about what they're talking about, and that they sent us, and I'm like, damn, no one really cares right now, huh? At least in the press. But where are you guys at on this game? Ben, I know you're a little more excited than I'm
excited because I really liked the original Dying Light, and I didn't play it at release. I played it a while after. And so, you know, I had the advantage of lots of bug fixes and some expansions and stuff by that point. But I'm wondering, you said you thought they were going to commit, and I think they probably thought they were going to commit too, obviously, because they'd already said indefinite, and then they threw out a date. But one, I know that that they're in Poland, right? Yeah, Techland's in Poland.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, you know, the health situation right now is maybe a little worse than it had been, and things looked like maybe they were going to change, and now they're going the other way. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt in one sense, that maybe that's part of it. But the other thing is, like we always say, like a delay, it's not going to hurt the game. We'll give them all the delay they want. I'm really wondering if they talk about doing some playtesting, and they weren't quite clear on the message. Is their playtesting showing things that they just weren't prepared for? Is their playtesting maybe more difficult because of the restraints of the world situation right now? I don't know that. The one thing that I did take from the press release that I got, let me find it here real quick. They mentioned that they're going to be doing playtesting, and they're going to have people be able to check it out. And they specifically say press and content creators will get their hands on PC and console versions of the game, yada, yada, yada. It's interesting to me that in a post-cyberpunk world, they specify they're going to give hands-on previews of console and PC. Because I think that if they had, let's say they just went ahead and sent it out, they weren't going to delay it, and people saw it was only on PC or something. Like, there's always that speculation now, I think, forever in media and in the gaming consciousness that's going to say, oh, well, what system did you play it on? Did you actually get to see it running on an Xbox or not? That's just one little piece, not really about the delay necessarily, but one little piece I pulled out of that press release after I read it like the third time and thought that was intentional. I think that was a very intentional move to say, like, look, that's a little bit of signaling. Look, the game is running. It's good. We got it running on console. We got it running on PC. We just need to fine tune a few things. And I mean, hopefully that pays off. Hopefully that's good.
That is a gem. That is a gem right there, man, because, you know, from one Polish studio to another, right? Bro, let's keep it a buck, right? At the end of the day, they saw what happened to CD Projekt Red. That is a cautionary tale. And I find it quite ironic, man. I kind of find that I see, again, the gaming community, good, delay the game. It's all good. Like, delays are good again. I just find it interesting, but certain franchises is just not afforded, you know, this delay. Just, you know where I'm going with
It's time, Cog. It's time.
It's time, bro. Like, it's just like, come on, at the end of the day, whatever they need, whatever time they need, I'm always going to be on the side of development. Take your time. We want the best representation of it. Now, the only thing I will say that is interesting, that where they're delaying to is competitive. That is that bad Horizon and Elden Ring. And look, I know I'm Destiny biased, but when Witch Queen come, it's going to be a movement, y'all. Like, make no mistake about it. This
you're totally right.
Yeah, this is a highly anticipated release. Bungie delayed that to be into that quarter, and it's getting a lot of positive feedback. And for me, you know, I mean, I'm not going to disrespect Pokemon. Obviously, Matty, you know the vibes there. That's you. But I ain't going to disrespect. I know how much of a juggernaut that is, and
especially like them actually making one that's not the same shit you always see. You know,
exactly. Right? So that's a big deal. Elden Ring, super, like,
It's a lot of big ones.
Personally, my little indie back, like I am team seafood. I am team seafood. Big time. Like this is my martial arts 70s kung fu flicks bag. Like I am in that. So yeah, I don't know about where they release it on that. I might push back a little further. That's just me, but I don't know what their, the boardroom as far as when the quarterlies or when it has to come out and all that stuff. But it is interesting they're going there. That's all.
Yeah. The only thing that holds me back on this game is I found it interesting because this was one of the best, I think, exposés I had read on a studio and what was happening internally. Was the Gamer did a full write-up on Dying Light 2 and its development status and how it was sort of caught in this like rewrite this, and they couldn't just pick a vision and go forward. And in fact, before they published it, they contacted the guy at the top, I forget his name, the CEO, who was calling all these shots and was like, we're publishing this. Do you want to say anything? And he wrote his own response within this expose. Like, here's what he had to say about this. Here's what he had to say about this. Like, he knew it was coming and he got to say his piece. And I thought that was a great work of journalism there. So it's over on the Gamer if anyone wants to check it out. But what happened was a lot of people would like go to his wife, who I think was in HR, and say like, hey, can you tell him this for the game? Because if you don't, then he won't listen to us. So she had to like keep convincing him for parts of the game reportedly. And I do think there's this worry about indecisiveness in gaming that not a lot of people talk about, which is there's always such a great rotating door of ideas coming through that eventually like developers got to shut the door on like, we're done taking new ideas. And it seemed like that was something that wasn't happening in Dying Light 2. Like he would play a game or the team would play a game. And they go, we really like this. Let's do this. And they like redo certain parts of the game. So that's the one thing is that what I saw when this game was first revealed of suddenly there's choice and consequence in Dying Light. What an unexpected turn of events. And drastic at that, where they showed you made this choice. So this part of the city that was flooded is no longer flooded. I was like, all right, like that's because Dying Light, a great game on gameplay, but its story was what it was. That's fine. It just kind of existed. But like then it looked like they were taking the right step forward. They were getting the right talent at the time. I'm just wondering if what we saw then is what we're going to get finally in 2022.
Good point.
Number 5, one of the biggest pieces of news this week. Epic and Apple have been at war with each other over the amount of revenue collected by Apple in its App Store. The grounds of Epic's argument mostly dealt with whether or not, Apple was monopolistic. That makes the outcome all the more fascinating because while Epic technically lost, they managed to succeed in their primary reason for tackling the situation in the first place. A U.S. District Court judge has ruled in favor of Epic Games' lawsuit against Apple, and as a result, Apple can no longer dictate that purchases made in the apps on its own devices go through the App Store. Effectively, this will reduce the control Apple has over in-app purchasing, which loosens its constriction on the market given that it was siphoning 30% of revenue from any that was generated. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers ruled against Epic on all other counts in the trial. Apple was found to not be in violation of antitrust law and does not need to allow Epic or any other entities the freedom to create their own stores on Apple's platform. Apple is not required to allow Fortnite back onto the App Store. However, the win for Epic is they can now redirect users to their own storefront and will likely be something that we see other companies take advantage of as well, thanks to them. The way we think about Epic's falling on the sword win here. $6 million payout too, I believe.
What you thinking, man?
There's so much to this, obviously, and there's so many pieces, but I think the biggest part of it is the Fortnite in-app purchases. And I was hung up on that for a while, and of course, we're talking about like who's worse, Goliath or Goliath's brother. Like, there's no David in this situation. They both suck. They're both huge. One might be a better guy sometimes than the others. I don't know, but. I think the funny thing to me is that both sides are calling for victory for themselves. They're saying that they both won. We know that Epic has already appealed. Apple has not yet done so. They may at some point. The one thing that I didn't really realize at first, and I read an article last night that I saw this, was that part of what Epic lost on was that they wanted to be able to install their own basically App Store on Apple on devices. And of course, the way this was always phrased was, we want people to be able to go in and do their own in-app purchasing in our own app, not necessarily have to go to another website. And last night I'm talking to my buddy Brandon, we were recording a podcast, and he says, this isn't about Fortnite. This is about the Epic Game Store on iOS. And like, maybe this is not a new take for anybody else out there, but for me, that was like, oh, this is about like Epic really wanting to be able to put their own platform on somebody else's platform and capitalize on it. And for me, the fact that they can't do that is both a huge blow to Epic and a huge win to Apple. But I'm just thinking about all these big app developers. You know, we're not only talking about people like Fortnite and some of the other, you know, super microtransaction-y things, but like, you know, if any of the three of us are making a little indie game, we're going to say, Apple, you know what? You give us a huge platform. We're not going to sell that much, but we're going to make some money. You go ahead and take your 30%. You're making the kind of money that Epic and whoever makes, you know, Bejeweled and Candy Crush or whatever those guys are making. Like that 30%, and sometimes a little less, depending on how big you are, adds up quick. Yes. And the amount of money that it would take them to create their own payment platform versus the amount of money that they're going to lose, like, you'd be stupid not to do it. So Apple could potentially see some serious losses in the future from this. And I wonder if it's going to encourage or discourage bigger players from jumping in on this, from jumping in on the app game, because there's a lot of money there, especially with some of these games. That's
a lot. Yeah.
This audience, you know, the Defining Duke audience, the three of us, we're probably not going to be the mobile gamers that are going to be dropping, but like we got those whales out there needing their top up, whatever they're called, for their Candy Crush, so they can get an extra move or whatever. Like that, there's a lot of money coming in from 50-year-old dads. You know, like it's there. Yeah.
This is interesting. Shout out to Hoaglaw, man. He's been charting this thing. I love watching his legalese on these kind of topics. And this one is one I've seen charted from the beginning. Yeah. Out of all this, I agree with everything Ben is saying, but out of all this, what I just find very interesting is how disruptive Epic and Fortnite has been in the game industry. Whether you love them or hate them, they have been a major factor now. Apple Store, the introduction of crossplay, kind of forcing Sony's hand to play nice with Fortnite. Like they have really been the Epic Game Store, let's be as a result, being birthed to be disruptive with Steam. It's love it or hate it, Fortnite is one of the most disruptive forces in the games industry that I have ever seen, that has gotten major companies to bend the knee on some level to their will based on this one game. And it's just very interesting to me. The only part I'm curious now is I remember Microsoft's play in this is when in regards to like the cloud streaming and Game Pass. And I remember there were a big dispute about, you know, why they couldn't have it on, because, you know, Apple would say like, hey, you can only put one game at a time and so on and so forth. So I'm very curious going forward, you know, is this the new loophole now? You get your thing and then you redirect, you know, to another store. So even though Epic lost the war, a lot of it, they did win a major battle in that revenue share and how things can exist on a storefront, so to speak, especially in a walled garden storefront. Like that's their baby, like in a sense, you know. So this is very interesting to see what happens. I'm curious, Matty, your whole, I never got a chance to talk to you about this stuff, like where you stand with this whole Epic versus Apple, the heavy weight.
I for a while had my head out of it because the only thing I found interesting for it was just the amount of tea, if you will, that spilled from all these different companies. As Epic showed like a million different emails from higher ups of PlayStation and Xbox, and that's where we learned like Xbox wants to get Game Pass onto different consoles. To me, that was the most interesting part of the whole thing, because I'm not really into the App Store. I know it's a big money cow that you can just milk. And even if they're taking that 30% cut there, people were getting rich off of this real fast by like crapping out these games. So for me, I was really not concerned because I saw Epic just really trying to minimize the amount that they took, which we're even seeing Windows do now. I think they minimized their cut, taken to 12% on the store. That might not be the exact number, but we're seeing a lot of these big companies shrink it down. And I think if Apple starts to see less people releasing, you're going to see that revenue split shrink. For sure. And I think that will be the best outcome of it all. But otherwise, I think, Cog, the biggest takeaway is what you said, that Fortnite continues to I think forced some pretty good change. I'm not I liked Fortnite when it came out. I played it, enjoyed it. I don't really care anymore. I've moved on, but there's no denying that. Yeah, of course, it's been a big social force where you see toys in the store and all that, but the change it's made in our industry, I think has largely been good. Of course, yeah, it brought with it like the battle royale trend, but I think even that's kind of calmed down a little bit. Where we're just seeing things like this, where it's been interesting to see Epic almost use it as a weapon to beat these companies over the head with it. And I'm for it. I'm for it. If they're going to continue to push for solid change, I know some people you brought up the Epic Game Store. I think people have warmed up to it more because they're like, yo, here's another free game. Here's another free game. And they're making ones like with Remedy happen and investing in companies like that, where I think it's hard at times to argue their existence. They've been competitive, and I respect that ultimately.
It's allowed Epic to be capitalistic, to make lots of money, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. But it's allowed them to be super competitive, to be super funded, while also still looking like the good guy, because they've got this lawsuit against Apple, where they're like, look, we're fighting for the everyman. We don't want people to have to give up 30% of their earnings. They recently came out and said, hey, guess what? We've got this game chat you can use in your game development no matter what platform you're on. We've got an anti-cheat you can use no matter what you're on. We've got, hey, Epic Game Store, you don't like it? That's fine. Here's some free games. Go ahead and take it. They're just positioning themselves in such a way that, and it's all, I mean, obviously they were a solid company before, but like it all comes back to Fortnite for this new stuff, that this game is so huge. They're able to say like, okay, let's not just think about, because Fortnite's gonna die eventually, whether it's next month or whether it's in 15 years, it's not gonna last forever. But they've been able to have a vision where they're like, look, we need to position ourselves as a leader in all these different areas and spread out what we're doing so that we can continue to thrive and rake in the money and hopefully serve our consumers so that they give us more money. It's amazing though how, like, when you really look at it, you're like, they're a giant, they're evil, but are they? Are they wrong? Like it's kind of like, are they wrong though? Like like
are they wrong? Even on the revenue split for their Unreal Engine, I think that's another thing that's important to call out, because it's only 5%, and they only take that 5% if you've generated $1 million.
Yeah,
which for a lot of companies is easy, but for indies coming in, that's very appealing.
Yeah, and then given the competitive space in the PC, storefront space, that's a big deal. Give it, funding a lot of games, giving people competition, a bigger cut, so to speak, and the controversial one was the exclusives, right? Get PC exclusive. A lot of my PC friends they were not feeling that, because we all know Steam is the more robust storefront, and we get it, but from a competition standpoint, that really shook things up, where a new game is debuting on the Epic Game Store exclusively. Fortnite, man, it's they should do like a documentary on it. Like it's such an interesting, intriguing force in gaming. I've never seen anything like that.
Well, and I mean, talking about that controversy, it's funny. I mean, you and I, maybe Matty, maybe as a child, maybe as a little baby, he could remember this. But do you remember when it was like, you're telling me I got to download this Steam thing to be able to play this game, this Half-Life game? Like, no, I'm not. No, make it available some other way. So like, we're creatures of habit. We want to do what we want to do. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I just think it's funny that like we're seeing those same things again and again.
Yeah, it was funny to me as a console gamer. I must admit, I did enjoy a little of y'all pain, man, to see y'all go, because like I'm so used to the exclusive game stuff. So PC guys are used to getting what they want. So they're like, I gotta download that launcher. I hate that. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta go if you want to play that game. You want Epic strong arming, bro. You want to come over? You want to play that hotness? You gotta download our. And they were like, well, they need to make it better. I'm like, well, how else are they gonna compete? I did think it was genius, even though it was a strong arm tactic. It was genius to do to force a PC guy to go, damn it, I gotta go. You gonna play that game or not?
Now we got your email address, we got your credit card information, we can market your material to anybody. Yeah, we're the good guys, but we'll get you. Don't worry.
Such a dichotomy. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Number 6, final bit of news coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. First, an announcement New to the day one Xbox Game Pass list is Football Manager 2022, which arrives November 9th, 2021, exclusive to Xbox Game Pass for PC. Then, Xbox dropped a full list of upcoming games and those that are leaving September 30th. First, the games that are arriving. Flynn, Son of Crimson, arrives on cloud, console, PC, September 15th. On September 16th, we get I Am Fish on cloud, console, PC, Skatebird, cloud, console, PC, and Superliminal on cloud, console, and PC. Then, September 17th, we get Origami 2 on cloud, console, and PC. September 23rd, we get a slew of games. Lost Words, Beyond the Page on cloud, console, and PC. Sable arrives on cloud, console, and PC. Subnautica Below Zero, cloud, console, and PC. And Tainted Grail Conquest arrives on PC Game Pass as well. Then we move over to September 28th, where we get Lemniscate, not cloud, just console and PC. On the 30th, Xbox gets a JRPG, Astria Ascending, cloud, console, and PC. Unsighted also arrives September 30th on console and PC. Last but not least, Phoenix Point arrives on console Game Pass October 1st. Then, leaving on September 30th is Drake Hollow. It exits console, cloud, and PC. Eichenfell leaves Xbox Game Pass on cloud, console, and PC. Night in the Woods, cloud, console, and PC. Kathy Rain leaves PC Game Pass, and Vermintide 2 leaves cloud and console. Blech, a lot of C's there. Anyway, gentlemen, anything from this list that's calling your name or that you may want to get to before it exits?
For me, I want to get to Phoenix Point because I believe as an XCOM guy, that was one of the OGs.
Yeah.
And he kind of branched off into his own thing. If you're your team turn-based, you got to see what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's kind of like more one of the definitive versions because I didn't get a chance to, I know we reviewed it on, and we played a lot of it and had previews on it on oddsgaming.net for us. It's one of our writers. But I was on the bus, I'm just going to wait until all the DLC or whatever, the full package, deluxe edition, whatever it is. And it seems that is. So I'm going to actually give it a shot. And yeah, I mean, XCOM is beloved. So that's like I got to see what his interpretation of turn-based is. So that's a big one for me. Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
I'm very interested in Lemniscate. It's a strategy FPS that it seems to be the theme of the year. It takes place in a time loop, but I just really like its ideas. It seems really interesting because it looks like a standard FPS, but it's seemingly more strategy elements to it than what meets the eye. So that's the one I'm going to go for out of everything on this list here. Like there's fun ones like Skatebird, but this is that year where business decisions time. So I got to be really smart with what I'm investing my time in. And I think Lemniscate I'll make some room for.
Nice.
There's nothing here that really super speaks to me. I'm sure I'll end up playing a few of them. Probably Subnautica is one of them. But the thing I want to like hone in on that you guys talk about is just look at the diversity of games here. We don't have there's not one genre that you're like, oh, Game Pass is just bringing a whole bunch of X kind of games here. Like right. there's stuff for everybody here right now.
Yeah.
Great point.
Absolutely agree. So it's a good time to be subscribed to this service, and I find this impressive because this is in the middle of like some of these were kind of unannounced and just are coming out of nowhere, and that's on top of everything that they announced at E3. So I'm really, really excited for what they're doing with this service, and hopefully they just keep piling it on with that free $99.
Yeah, man.
All right. With that Game Pass news, let's move into our Game Pass pick of the week. First, before we get into our pick, Nate Jung has one. So thank you for writing in, Nate. Hello, Dukes that define. I have a Game Pass Game of the Week suggestion. About a month ago, my friend and I were playing The Ascent, and we're getting frustrated that the game would crash his base Xbox One almost every night we played. By the way, I had the same issue with one of my friends. So we began browsing Game Pass for a different game to play. This is when we stumbled on Deep Rock Galactic. It is a co-op FPS where you play as a badass space dwarf. It has a 100% destructible environment, procedurally generated caves, and endless hordes of alien monsters. This game he put needs in capitals. He wants more attention because it is, in capital letters, so much fun. We have both put in 60 plus hours already and don't see ourselves stopping anytime soon. It is on PC Game Pass 2 with crossplay between that version and Xbox. Everyone needs to try out Deep Rock Galactic. Have either of you played this one?
I have not, but I researched it and I was like, yo, it do look fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked to see how high it was really reviewed. It was, I think Skill Up had something on it. And I think I saw an IGN thing on it. It looked a lot of fun, man. I can't lie. What did you think, man? Like, when you take a look at it?
Yeah, I actually had somebody in the LSM Discord recommend this to me. I'm trying to remember who it was. I apologize to whoever it was, but props to them. I downloaded it. Let me make sure. Yeah, I still have it downloaded, but I have not jumped in yet. But it was enough to get the download click for me to take up a little hard drive space. So that I should get to it, especially after seeing another positive thing about it. Check it out.
Yeah, likewise.
Now for our pick. It's all you, Cog.
Yeah, y'all know what it is, man. It's the gaming ninja here. I get my name for a reason. All ninja games go through the Shinobi test. Have to see what's going on. So look, I'll be honest. Origami. I hope I get the name pronunciation right.
You do. Yep.
Origami, right?
Yep.
I remember seeing it, and I'm like, "Ooh, okay." I'm about my ninja games, but where you really win, Cognito, is ninja stealth games where you have to act and be the art of the ninja. And I thought their take on it was interesting. It was like, basically you would have to stay in the shadows and you would teleport and stuff like that. Now, admittedly, some little jank, a little clunk. Control could have been a little tighter with the first one, but I love the vision. Whoever made it, I think it's Linceworks. They are clearly inspired by one of my favorite ninja games of all time, which is Tenchu. I am a Tenchu fanboy. Like, that is my thing. I remember when that game came out, I'm like, that's the essence of ninja. Not everything is in your face. The ninja is about infiltration, not being spotted. And to be honest, you can't beat all these overwhelming odds. So you have to use the deception, the tricks, the caltrops. I'm all about that. That's me. So when I saw this game, I'm like, okay, you got the vision, you're clearly inspired, your execution though. So then I saw Origami 2 announced, and now Game Pass. And I saw some footage, and it looked quicker. It's more smooth. The fighting seems a little tighter. And I'm like, yo, they got it. And the other thing I thought the first one was very slow. Shout out to Karakia reviewed it also. Yeah. It's a little slow. And it didn't feel ninja-y from a speed standpoint, but not too. And then also co-op. So like you could get your buddy.
Game, man.
Yo, bro, get your buddy. We attack the city together. You go there, simultaneous kill. So it's speaking to the Tenchu game that I've always wanted. And I'm gonna give it a shot. I advise everyone, look, if you like stealth and you like ninja games and those type of infiltration kind of things and great powers and stuff like that, give it and also a nice cell-shaded art style. I like the art style. It's very, very different, very colorful, very cool, where even when you're in the shadow, the character's skin would change to let you, give you a visual representation that, hey, you can be spotted, but when you're in the dark, you're full like, oh, man, I love this stuff. So I could bloviate about all this as much as I want, but give Origami 2 a shot. It's going to be in Game Pass this week. Give it a shot. I think the devs might have improved substantially on the first one.
Right on.
Is Origami the original? Is it on Game Pass as well?
It is not. It is okay. I think it used to be, and then it came off. Okay, so right now it's a paid purchase, but it's worth it, man. I mean, just to see the initial vision, I felt was really cool. But 2 is Game Pass this week, so check it out.
And with that, our 5 concluding questions for this week's episode. Zach Yearwood is first. Good day, Knights of the Old Weebs. That's a new one. I like that one. I'm glad to be writing in once again on Defining Duke after a decent hiatus from the Patreon. And it's my first time writing in with Cog on the show. Great job, by the way. This week, I'm going to give you the most likely option for a major licensed IP to hit Game Pass day one. And that IP is 007 from IO Interactive. Xbox has a reputation for leveraging existing partners for Game Pass content, with one of the biggest examples being Plague Tale 2 coming day one after Xbox worked with the Asobo on Flight Sim. Since Xbox currently has a second-party deal with IO for another unannounced game, Project Dragon, we should expect Xbox to snag the James Bond game for the platform. Your thoughts? P.S. Indiana Jones and James Bond on Game Pass would give Xbox the reputation as the ladies' man's console. Have a great casual day, Zach. Thank you, Zach. What do we think? Do we see Xbox saying y'all can have your Marvel? We're going to take the gentleman's route here. Little 007. Do you see this? I don't know. Like, I would love, real quick, I just want to say, I would love to see them just mimic what's going on in pop culture and just Xbox go full DC. I want to see that. But Ben, what are you feeling?
I would love it. I mean, I'm here for it either way. I'm an Indiana Jones fan. I'm a 007. Look, I was streaming last night, and Lockmort, who does some editing and videos for us, popped into my chat and was like, "Did you hear that the new movie got delayed again?" And I swear, if you go back on my stream, you could see me almost cry because I want that movie to come out. Anyway, all that to say, I mean, I don't know if it's likely or possible. I think that the things he lays out here point to a good possibility, and it would be a smart move for Xbox. I mean, that's going to be a big game. I'm a little worried that a new 007 isn't going to perform as well, just because, since the N64, we haven't really had a 007 game that hit. And even if you go back to that one, GoldenEye it doesn't really hold up. But,
shout out to Nightfire though.
Yeah, but I trust IO. I think their game's going to be good, and I think it would be a great move. And yeah, like he says, you have Indiana Jones and James Bond both exclusive and both on, or maybe not exclusive, but on Game Pass. Yeah, we're hitting.
That's a good look. Yeah. Cog, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think IO is perfect for that style of game. I mean, Hitman, right? Like, for you and Rand went in a nice little tirade about it, and look, I loved it. It was so really good, so good, right? Just the way you approach the missions, the locales.
I just want to toss in that. I feel like Hitman 3 was so good that it impacted how I viewed Deathloop. Like, if I never played Hitman 3, I probably would have liked Deathloop a little bit more. But Hitman 3 is just still a game of the year. Sorry, go on, Cog.
Yo, bro, I feel you because I just played a couple of missions and just so many ways to tackle something, right? It was so cool. And then again, I love stealth, hiding the bodies. I remember I had to go put some poison in someone's drink before the bartender got there. Right, Matty? Like it's just it's correct. It's true creative freedom in level design approach. And then I like that they give you that replayability to see. I got you. I watched the video. I watched the Deathloop, bro. I know you wasn't just talking smoke. You was coming for them in a constructive way. So I know why Hitman resonates with you, because that is the beauty of it. It's what so Arkane cool. Did. That's what do that. Exactly. So I'm with you there. And to me, it's just all you got to do is just throw a different suited coat of paint on and 007 and let's go. Maybe a little bit more action in a certain aspect. Yeah. But yeah, why not?
I always with 007, I always wonder how they're going to make this game, because he typically he's more gadget based, right? But he also there's car chases and shootouts. How do you think they're going to handle that? Do you think this is going to be effectively like Hitman Reskin, or do you think they're going to have more action sequences? That's what I've really wondered with this game.
Yeah, they got to have a balance of action, because he is very action oriented. He's over the top with a lot of stuff. Yeah. So you got to have that. But I would like some stealth too. Yeah. And IO has proven they've got that down. So they just now have to mix it in. But yeah, man, like this could be one of those AAA banger, man. You know, if they put the right vision in, they get the essence of the James Bond character, and who knows, now if you really would go for the win, let's say, is there a movie coming out? You guys know, or something? Any new development on the movie front? Because I was thinking about like maybe they try to co-market it with some type of release or something. I don't know, but either way, it's a classic franchise, and I would love IO to get their take on it. And see
I remember playing, I had to look up the name real quick, but like 2 games, Agent Under Fire and Nightfire were just like, I remember like they were this great mix of, especially Nightfire. It's a first person shooter, and you had your stealth segments. You also had your shoot 'em up sections if you messed up the stealth. Like, they were just really, really good video games. And then I'm looking at the rest of them. There was like Bloodstone, which was like a third-person shooter through and through. Quantum of Solace was also just a really good third-person shooter. So that's why I've always been fascinated. Like, where is IO going to go with this game? Yeah. How action-packed are they going to make it? Because if it's, I got to be honest, I don't want to judge the game before, obviously, we even see anything. Yeah. But just, to me, IO and action, I don't want that. Okay. But maybe they make it compelling.
You have to imagine they're going to they're going to infuse what they're good at into it, right? So like we know they can make the hit. We know they can make a stealth game. We know they can make a game that's a little bit campy. James Bond is just about as, if you really, maybe not the Daniel Craig movies, but if you go back, like James Bond's just about as campy as you can get, right? If you're looking at a movie that can be taken seriously and also have a little fun in it. So I think they'll infuse some of that, but there's no doubt they got to put some action in there unless they make it like a, I don't know, turn-based game or something. I don't even know what they can do.
We'll be happy. Me and Matty be happy. I think the world, they get mad when everything gets turn-based.
No, they can't do that. But I do think they're going to have to put in more action than you typically see in an IO game for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I would agree.
All right, Al Rodriguez is our next question. What to do, Dukes? One of my favorite parts of LSM is its diversity of personalities, gaming choices, and styles. That said, what are your breakdowns percentage-wise on platform usage? For me, it's roughly 0% on PlayStation because I don't own a 4 or a 5. 35% on Switch, 65% on Xbox. And I'll be getting my gaming laptop this week to do some light PC gaming, such as Age of Empire, Tyranny, etc. Maybe some PS Now on PC for single-player PlayStation classics like Uncharted, God of War. So 0% on PC for now. Love the show. All the best. PS Cog, please explain all the nicknames you have for LSM. I was trying to do that. Yeah, when I was driving home and Laylee was taking her shift, I remember like looking at your tweet. You're like, Cobra Commander. Mama was an easy one, but I'm like, who's the young beast? You know, like who is everyone? Let's run down that real quick.
Let's go through it. So clearly we know who Cobra Commander is. Shout out to Colin. Yeah. The G.I. Joe affinity, he's close to the character. Be like, you can say what you want. You love G.I. Joe, you can say that you hate Cobra Commander. He's such a hilarious, charismatic character. You have to love him, right? So that to me is Colin, seeing the rogue agent doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? I love that. So that's that. You are clearly the young beast.
Clearly, okay.
Yeah, like it's just, I look at you like as an older gent, I look at your age and the talent that you have, a podcaster, a YouTuber, and you have all this tremendous skill set. And it's just like, wow, like I wasn't doing that at that age. Like, I'm just like, yo, how? Like, it's scary to be like, wow, they making this model like this. So you're the beast. You're a beast for what you are. Clearly, Mama, we know who Mama is. Mama Micah, salute the legend. She's awesome. The OG is self-explanatory. Come on, it's got to be Dagan. It's got to be Dagan. When he, at the Last Stand Media event, he clearly proved that with his presentation and his choice, which I don't want to spoil for the people who haven't seen it yet. And then the fun one is the Shadow Broker. The Shadow Broker.
Yeah, that was the one. That and the prototype. I'm like,
the Shadow Broker and the prototype. The Shadow Broker to me is Dustin because he's quiet, but he controls more than you think. And I like when we had him on an ILP and I was digging in, and I'll get you on ILP too, man. I got to get you on. And it's like, listening to his story, I'm like, he has way more influence. You think he's just some quiet, soft-spoken guy? He has a lot of influence, bro. And he's a big part of the movement. Prototype's got to be Chris Ray Gun, because at the end of the day, it's like, I know Colin affectionately calls them the Sons. And like, to me, it's like, he is the prototype, but he's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's that next, like, he's out of the mold, but he's his own thing. And he's a beast in himself. He's also like a beast like you in a sense, too. Then we got the mayor, man. There's only one person. I think that is so cool. Like, you are legit that and this dope gamer and all this other things. And I got the key to this city, so you definitely the mayor. So I'm good when I come through Butler. I'm good, man.
Shout out to me for forgetting my key.
At least till January, Cog. At least till January.
At least till January.
Yeah. Then you come through, I don't know what's going to happen.
Listen, I'm going to still hold it up like I still had authority. But look, I had to nickname you guys. What you going to say, Matty? I'm sorry. You was going to say something?
Oh no, I was just saying. I was saying, like, you show up, you got the key. Like,
you got the key, yeah. I always do that with my friends. I always nickname my friends and stuff like that. And just meeting you guys in my mind internally, those were the little nicknames I came up for you guys. It's all a video game with me.
Don't worry, Matty. I'll get you. You didn't really respect the honor of getting a key or a certificate and the day named in your honor.
I just had that cigar on my mind. I sprinted back there.
I'll get it to you, but it's not coming express mail. Okay.
You're giving me like the lowest shipping option, like this 7 to 14 day. Yeah, I understand.
I'm going media mail. We're going media mail. We're not.
Yeah, I remember because like we went upstairs. I mentioned it then, and I don't know why I didn't just shoot downstairs and grab it right then.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But
Probably still sitting on that chair.
It's yeah, because then I messaged Ben and I'm like, dude, I forgot. He's like, well, Dustin found some stuff on the chair, so we'll get it to you.
We'll get it to you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Nice.
I know where to find it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, to the question outside of my jokes was the percentage. Nowadays, yeah, because of Game Pass, I'm probably about 70-30 like now on Xbox, just the Game Pass and a lot of the features I like. I'm a big quick resume guy, just picking up where I left off there. And before all of this, the next gen consoles, I was probably about 60% PC. And then the rest was split between Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. Now, because of the pandemic and COVID, I don't use my Switch as much because Switch was always something I would go when I travel. So now that I'm home, I want to play with the big boys, right? And then PC kind of tailed off for me because, like, I think me and you had this conversation, Ben, like, once my console brethren understood what NVMe is, once they understood the higher CPU with those 60 frames and higher games, which I left Destiny, I'm proud. I'm not ashamed to say I left console Destiny at 30 until they got their act together, and now I'm back. But yeah, I was with PC for that. Now people understand, like, those are game changers. But curious, what's your guys' percentages? For Matty especially, because he gets hate from all the sides. So I watched all that. He an Xbox, he a pony, he this, he that. So what is it, man? Whose fealty do you claim you kneeling to?
I was like, while you were talking, I was literally going through my head thinking of like hour counts for particular games. I'm like, okay, Outriders like 40 on Xbox. I played Tales of Arise. That was like another 50. I was on Xbox, but then like on PlayStation, I had Neo: The World Ends With You. That was like 30. Like there's certain games that are either only available on their platforms or were most appealing to play there, where I feel like it's got to be like a nice 40-40. And I ain't just saying that for appearance sake. Like when I really look at it in my head, I'm like, there are situations such as Republic Commando gets ported by Aspire. And I love Republic Commando, one of my favorite first-person shooters ever. I'm like, I got to get the platinum. I've never had the opportunity to get the platinum. It was already available on Xbox back compat. I had played it that way before, but like now's my chance to get the platinum. So you had to play on hard. And I remember the final hours, PlayStation clocked it at 11. So there's situations like that where like, it'll edge it out. Where I'd probably say like, they got to be at least mostly even. I'll do 40-35 because I've been, as time goes on, I want to, with our show, make sure I'm giving Xbox games more time. And by that, I mean like something like Tales. Tales I always thought was synonymous with PlayStation, but now Xbox is going in on it. It's like, I want to support that on that system. Like I want JRPGs on Xbox. So I'm going to play them there. And I know my audience, our audience, they want to know, how is this JRPG on Xbox? I want to be able to answer that and be like, it runs well. It's 60 FPS. It's exactly what you want. So I'd say like a 40-35 is what I'll go to, with Xbox leading that charge, especially with Game Pass. I've been on it way more. I played it more in my PlayStation 5 when I first got it, because my PS5, I played and beat Demon's Souls Remake. That was it. Then I went on to Xbox, and I'd been playing a ton since then. So I would say 40-35. So that puts me at 75 in total. Switch.
I was just about to ask you,
Switch.
Where's your Bluetooth support at?
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, my God, bro. The internet was celebrating, too. Are you fucking kidding? I saw that.
Shout out to Grandpa Nintendo out here with these old features acting like they brand new. Shout out to Bluetooth support.
Fucking unbelievable, man. When I saw that, I was like, really? Like, people are like, yes, Bluetooth. I'm like, they could just flip this on. After all this time, you could just flip it on and it works. I thought we had to wait for a new rendition for it. I'm in fucking awe. Why is anyone going to buy the old OLED now? Wasn't that one of its selling points? That's wild. All right, so the Switch, right? So we're at 75%. The Switch used to get a lot of mileage, not even just from travel, but just there was something appealing about it. But since these new gen consoles, I tell people all the time, I'm like, that Switch Pro is desperately needed, because it's like, it's feeling old now. It's feeling old. That 30 doesn't go across my board as smooth. Certain mobile things that I would normally go, oh, I love to play this in bed. Now I'm docking it. I don't know, man. I'm becoming a really big frame rate guy, and I don't like it, because I used to not care. But like Mario Golf, love Mario Golf. Put like almost 30 hours into it, right? Probably the most played game on my Switch. But when Mario Golf rolls around, like that was one I was, oh yeah, it's a bed game. It's a chill game. It's like this choppy 30 FPS. And I remember just docking it and seeing the 60 and the image is blown up. It looks horrible too, but I'm like, oh, smooth though.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to give Switch this past year, probably a good 15. Yeah.
That's
Good 15%. Because I picked it up for Pokemon Unite as well.
Oh yeah, you're Pokemon.
MOBA.
That's right.
And then 10% to PC. Yeah, that sounds about right. A lot of League. Honestly, you may even flip Nintendo and PC now that I think about League. Because PC, just League is its own thing, right? I don't even think I'm PC gaming with League, because you can play it on like a potato at times if you really wanted to. But I'm going to flip those two now that I really think about it. Yeah, PC's getting a little bit more work than that. I don't know how accurate those percentages are, but off the top of my head, sounds about right. So that's where I'm at. All right. Ben.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was going through my head. I was like, I know Cog went.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I'd say probably about 3% on my Switch. We'll start out with the low one.
3.
And that's partially because my son has commandeered it. So that 3% of the time is when I'm playing games with him most of the time. Now, I'll still play, the indies and maybe the exclusives and stuff, but it's generally when I'm playing Mario Golf or something with him. So probably about, we'll just round it up to 50. The other 47% of the time, I'm playing on PC. And a lot of that's because I'm streaming Sea of Thieves. I'm playing Sea of Thieves. But then if you break down PC, it's probably like 90% on Game Pass for PC and about 10% on Steam.
Phil likes that. Phil likes that.
Yeah, Phil does. Yeah, he actually, he texted me just a little bit ago. I was like, I like that you keep doing that. But I would also say, and then so like if you break down, it's probably the other 50%. It's probably like 30% PS5, 20% Xbox. Because I usually, I'll go to my PS5 almost exclusively for exclusives. And then the Xbox is mostly for, the Game Pass games that I just want to not sit at the computer for. But it also depends, and I'm sure this is the same for you guys. It depends on, early coverage, review codes. When stuff like that comes in, you don't always have the choice. Sometimes you do, but not always. So that's also plays a factor. But PC is definitely where I spend most of my time, but it's almost entirely on Game Pass when I'm on there. Yeah.
Very interesting. That's cool.
We all have very diverse splits, it appears.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Calabrese is our next write-in. What up, rootin', tootin', gun totin' Matty, and bench pressing the mass relays Cog. Wow. Dude, you're the ultimate lifter now. I'm writing in about the phrase y'all been using, free with Game Pass. Specifically, I think this simple phrase is part of the reason why gamers have lower expectations about the games they play on Microsoft's subscription service. To be clear, you're paying for a temporary license for the right to play a rotating catalog of games. The developers of said titles are compensated based on telemetry of the Game Pass subscriber base who plays them. Instead of saying free with Game Pass, why not say as part of the Game Pass package/service? Kind of nitpicky, but I think it's an important distinction. Thoughts? We're getting our guard up here.
Yeah, I like how, shout out to Jay, we're devaluing it.
Yeah, I wish many people listened where we are, but
yeah, our mere expression is just devaluing. I mean, I do find it funny, I have fun with it. I'll say yo, it's on Game Pass, free 99. Mm-hmm. Come on, I'll say that. But look, I understand his sentiment. I understand, obviously, when you have something on a service that's so consumer friendly and so friendly, you don't want to. And I think we talked about this, Matty. We don't want to devalue quality, on the service just because something is on Game Pass now. Oh, it gets a pass because it's on Game Pass. Look, you didn't really pay that much money. And yes, it is a service that we paid for, but we have to be honest too that the value proposition is so great. You almost feel like you're getting away with something, kind of thing. That's how I felt when, Outer Worlds and MLB The Show and Outriders and all these big games. And I'm like, I would have legit spent the money for this. And the fact that I just, turn on my console, and in Ben's case, it's PC, it's available for download. So yeah, I don't think we should get into the semantics of what people say about it. What I do feel, which we said, Matty, is that I want reviewers to maintain that standard of, look, just because it's a Game Pass, I'm still going to treat you like you are a paid purchase. And that's what I want to uphold. So that's my own thing to Jamie, but I hear what he's saying.
For me, I do also understand the sentiment. I think it's fair to suggest that we could say as part of Game Pass, but I don't know. It depends. Like, do you consider you're paying for Game Pass so everything that's added is added for free because there is no price increase? That's where I think we are getting a little nitpicky. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I can only echo what you've said, which is, it really, I think the important distinction is that reviewers don't lower their score or increase their scores or say, go get this just because it's on Game Pass. And they know it's like an easy get, even if it's for a set period of time. But more than anything, I really think I feel like people just run with anything for free. So just as long as Game Pass exists, I think people's expectations will just, as much as I don't want it to, decline. Because I once again, I always go back to Halo, where when you and I were pushing for that idea of like, I don't know about this, I'm a little concerned, this is a red flag. A lot of people were just like, yo, come on, bro, it's going to be in Game Pass, who cares? I'm like, we needed to still
so what that current co-op ain't that long. So what that Forge ain't there. So what that level's missing. I'm just joking.
No, bro, it's true.
Look, if you're using the same words he says you're using, free with Game Pass, that's like saying included with your subscription. So come on, Jamie. You know what he mean. You know what they mean. You're just getting semantics here. Yeah. Also, I want to point out the part about where he says that the developers of said titles are compensated based on the telemetry of subscriber base. We still don't have a clear answer on for sure how everything gets. I mean, I'm not going in on Jamie on this one. I was joking.
Right. We're going in on Jamie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You wrote in. You wrote in. You know what's going to happen.
But I just think it's interesting that like every deal seems to be a little different. Some people are just getting like, hey, here's $1 million. We'll put your game on there for 6 months and then you'll be good. Whatever. That's just a fake number. But other deals I think are from things I've heard are based on how they perform on the service.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and it's really interesting.
When we had talked to Mike Rose from No More Robots, he had distinctly said that sometimes it's a flat rate, sometimes it's per download. So come on, Jamie, brush up.
Come on, Jamie.
don't let it bother you, man. Play the game, man.
DV Cooper's up next. Hey, Matty and Cog, first time writing in, loving the show. Thank you. I know everyone and their mother are asking about KOTOR and your thoughts, but I'm not going there. Cog, you mentioned on the last episode that he needs to have a margarita with his Mexican food. I'm curious, Cog, are you a blended or on the rocks guy? And are we talking Cadillac or traditional? I've loved your addition to the show and have started following and listening to your other stuff outside of DD and have become a huge fan. So don't mess that up. Totally kidding. Keep it up, Dukes. Looking forward to everything else you guys do on the show moving forward. And finally listening to the Ascent spoiler cast. Have a good week. DB.
Salute DV. Yeah, man. I'm a big margarita guy. I'm a big, as Matty found out, I was very emotional when they did not have that in the beautiful city of Butler.
Don't bring the whole city in. That was just that restaurant. That wasn't the whole city.
I gotta come for your city. I never heard of that, man. I was like, yo, where is the margaritas at? But let it be known. Let it be known. It was that one establishment. But nah, man, look, I'm more on the rocks guy. I'm on the rocks. I like that. I ain't gonna lie, I like my what is it, the salted rim. Like that action going on. Frozen is okay, but blended and all that. But I like traditional. I could do that little Cadillac. I could do that joint right there. So to me, every Mexican place I go to, it is like literally part of my meal. Like I look forward to, especially like New York, there's a spot we call it Caliente Cab. And like they have these huge, like enormous margarita with these big goofy glasses. Like I love that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so it has become tradition that it's not just about the Mexican food. It's about, you get the drinks and then you wait for the food to come up and you just sipping that goodness. You chilling with the whole, I love that stuff, man. So yeah, that I was trying to get that bonding on with my man with the beast right here. Damn, establishment had the nerve, the audacity to tell me some non-alcoholic sangria talking about.
Now I think about how tired we were. I was surprised we went for drinks. Like
I know.
Worked at the table. Yeah,
it worked out. Yeah. You got to put me on to the spots when I come back, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Ben, what about you? Because I mean, I know this question was for Cog, but I'm just gonna throw it your way because I'm curious with your experience owning a brewery and all that stuff. You know,
Shout out to the Speakeasy. It was fire.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Spice rum was on fire, by the way, sir.
Oh, nice.
I remember
nice.
Cog bought me a drink out of nowhere too. Like,
I had to buy my man a drink.
I didn't get to treat anyone to a drink while we were out there. Colin treated me to one, you treated me to one. I'm sitting there with my card, like, okay, all right, I'll buy no one a drink. It appears.
For me, I'm not a. I like margaritas, but I'm not a huge margarita drinker. It wouldn't be my first thing to go to. I'd usually go for something bourbon based, probably.
Okay. Little whiskey guy.
But if I'm going for a margarita, I could go iced or I could go frozen. I mean, iced is the right way, so let's just let that be known. But I'm okay with taking it frozen. I like that. It's okay. And I'm always going to be the guy that upgrades a little bit. I figure when the drink you're having is mostly liquor, the liquor might as well be good. So let's not go well if we can help it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. With margaritas, I remember when I was a kid, right? Not a good way to start a story, but
what is going on in the Matty Place household?
Everyone in the house was having margaritas, and my parents got this like fake margarita that was effectively just like soda. Yeah. And they gave it to me, and I was like, I love margaritas. So I've always had a little bit of an affinity for them.
Salute. Love it.
But honestly, I don't drink that much. So like, anytime like someone tries to casually talk alcohol to me, I'm just like,
yeah. It's funny.
I like Crown Royal and ginger ale.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's like, okay.
People assume I'm a big drinker because I own a brewery and a speakeasy, and that's like, sometimes I'm like, I might drink the least of any brewery owner on the planet. Sometimes I'll like, hey, I'm gonna have a beer every day or multiple beers every day, and other times it's like, I think it's been like a month since I had a drink.
Yeah.
So
I've become a wine guy.
Yeah.
To be honest, I love wine. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I'm sitting there in like a collar shirt, just like you know, just trying to be all intelligent. No, but it's for me. It's really nice when I'm sitting down to get into a full, like, if I know I'm gonna be writing for a while. A little glass of wine loosens me up a little bit, I think, and I need that, or else you just overthink everything, and it's just like creates an atmosphere. I love wine.
Salute. I like the vibe.
Last question goes to Cody Richter. Hey, Cog and Matty, just wanted to see if you guys have any interest in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands coming out next year. It's like more of what makes Borderlands good, but diving into D&D features. On a side note, how do Dukes feel about Borderlands franchise? I'm currently playing through Borderlands 3, and although the Calypso twins don't compete with Handsome Jack, I'm really enjoying the story and characters. Borderlands 2 is still the GOAT, though. Oh, man, you're enjoying Borderlands 3 story? What? Wow, that's wild.
He said, wow.
If anyone ever told Beyond Cody was like, yo, I like Borderlands 3 story, I'm like, dude, the Calypso twins are like, I've made jokes when I was 5 better than that, man. Like they're horrible. They're horrible villains. They're so annoying. Anyway, what do we feel about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands? A little temperature check here. Because I liked what I saw, but I want to see what you guys think.
Ben, what you think, man?
I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll check it out. I guess this goes partially to the second part. I played Borderlands 1. I played most of Borderlands 2. I don't think I finished it. Haven't played past that. So I didn't dislike it. I am not, as Matty was saying, I'm not huge on the humor of the game. I just don't. It's not that it's offensive or anything. I just don't think it's funny. Sorry, but I'm glad that it's coming out. I think it's going to be huge because it looks like it's going to be interesting. But I feel like if I was more of a Borderlands fan overall, I'd be really hyped for it because it looks good. But as of now, I'm just like, well, I'm just kind of like looking at it as its own franchise because for me personally, because I'm not invested, I guess you could say. But I don't have anything against it either.
Yeah, I mean,
Cog is a Destiny guy. I mean, I gotta. Is there a little bit of like you're coming into my territory now?
Yeah, it's a little bit. The Borderland guys would come into my feed, talk their talk. We're the OGs. We're the go-to the lunacy. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't exist.
No, you got some beef, all right.
You know, listen. Destiny fans have beef with other gamers, so on some level, you know, the Division guys are one, but the Borderland guys are strong. You know, there's no doubt. We can't deny. And look, it's a fun game. You know, it definitely. As far as the randomization of the loot, the cell-shaded aspect, the cooperative aspect, it's really fun. Can't take nothing away from it. It's just, you know, like to me, it's a traditional, you know, a game, and it's finite. There's an end at some point. But one was cool, two I felt was the pinnacle, three was okay. I kind of dropped off of it, to be honest. I didn't really something, I don't know, I couldn't put my finger on it that didn't keep me. But I need to go back to it. I do need to finish it. And surprisingly, even though this is not listed, Tales of the Borderland Telltale game, I had a ball with that game.
Yeah.
That game made me laugh. Yeah. That game was hilarious. Like, I loved it. Reese and the other characters in there I thought were really cool.
I think Loaderbot was one of them.
Loaderbot. Yeah, like the sequences in that game, the jokes were absolutely hitting on that one. As far as the Tiny Tinas, I like the trailer. I thought I liked the musical choice. I liked what they chose for that. To look,
Baby Metal. Oh my god, bro! Yeah, I love Baby Metal. So when I heard that, I was like,
I was like, this is great music. You gonna make me want to play this? I was like, okay, let's get it. You know what I'm saying? So that was cool.
Such a good choice for us.
Such a good choice. Such a good choice. Then I see the art style. I'm like, all right, you gonna make me at least try it. Let me at least see what's going on. But yeah, I'll give it a shot. I thought it did enough in the trailer to make me go give it a shot. Give it, see what's going on with it.
I used to do a lot of Borderlands coverage on my channel, and leading into Borderlands 3, I was ready to kind of go all in because, you know, it had done exceptionally well on my channel. Like, there was a lot of interest for it, and I know post-launch support for Borderlands is always really good. I think Gearbox doesn't get enough credit for what they do there, so I was excited, but Borderlands 3 kind of crushed it. I just I didn't like the story at all, but even beyond that, like that was the first game to ever give me a headache from the amount of shit happening on screen. That's never happened to me. Like, I've played so many games, as many people know, in my lifetime. That was the first time like a game physically ailed me because of what was happening, and I was like, "There's something off with that." Like, I don't know if that's healthy, but even then, it was really buggy. I compared it to the level of like 76. I showed it in my video review. I was like, I was falling through the map. I was clipping all over the place. Missions weren't working. That game was really broken when I played it. I'm sure it's much better now. I have no doubts of that. But I had a really bad experience with it. So I kind of pulled out entirely. I was just like, I don't want to play this anymore. I beat it. There was like one hilarious quest line where, I don't know if any of you did this, but there's this like kid's birthday party for like, I think it was a little kid who passed away. And you're like playing a bunch of competitions, and the little kid set all the records, and you're just like fucking dusting all the records that were set by this deceased kid. And all you hear is the dad like, "Oh, you won." Nice. Like, and it's one of the most funny dark humor quests I've seen in a game. It was really good. But beyond that, like, the game really wasn't as funny as I was hoping for. And I don't gotta be laughing my head off like something like South Park, where you got like the subway boss fight. You're like, what the fuck? But yeah, I think what I like about Tiny Tina Wonderlands is it's doing, number one, I don't know how I feel about like them going all in on Tiny Tina. That remains to be seen. But when it comes to like their locales, the abilities I've seen, the class, like, I feel like this one, it's like almost the pressure got to them. And like, now's their rebound when no eyes are on them. And I feel like this is going to hit. And especially with the D&D features. Like, I don't know. Do you guys... Are you guys aware, does this game have armor in it? Because that's something I've always wondered will Borderlands do. Like, they have the shields. They have armor. Because I feel like that would fit the D&D vibe. But beyond that, like, I just like that they're doing this because it allows for a lot of randomosity, which I think makes Borderlands really good.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree.
I'm
looks cool, man. I'm excited for it, just to give it a shot. Yeah, see if they got those features, that armor. That would be cool.
Yeah, says it'll have 6 classes, multi-classing, and armor. What? Hold up.
Oh, there we go.
Hold up. An array of armor and amulets to boost the player's stat. Oh, fuck. See, this is what I was talking about. I said in Borderlands 3, I was like, why didn't they do armor? Because I feel like this is the next logical step in loot drops for their series, because they always did weapons.
Right.
Yeah, the same will go for armor, another addition, and they'll provide stat boosts. Excellent. I'm actually very interested.
Yes.
Very interested.
Go.
So looking forward to this one. Even more so now, because it's a lot of things I wanted in 3, but we'll see how they build on it. Anyway, that's all we've got for questions, gentlemen. It's been a blast, and of course, we got to pick the hashtag now.
What we cooking today? What we cooking? I'm trying to think. There's a lot of stuff we discussed.
A lot of Marvel, a lot of Star Wars, a lot of delay talk.
Trying to think. This is a very varied episode.
It was.
It's like it wasn't like we had a lot of different good moments.
No, I don't think this is actually a good idea, but you should make it something like hashtag delay Halo DD, just so you get other people having to use the hashtag, even if they don't really mean it. But that's not a good one. That's not a good one.
Yeah, get a little
They're
evil
gonna
with
come
it.
for us. I don't think I can go that extreme with it.
I'm leaving. You guys got to be here. I'm just here for a minute. You'll be taking it, not me.
What you thinking, man? You always come up with some good ones. I'm blanking today. There's so many good.
I was gonna say I was feeling a little bit of Marvel, because I feel like that was a really big talking point. Marvel DD, but
okay. I'm with a little Marvel DD.
I think we could do that, but I also went up with Ben's evil villain idea of just like making people write in and saying like delay Halo DD, you fuckers. You know?
You find out that no one uses it, like no one's listened to the whole episode.
So, subtly, just our listeners.
No one to smoke. Whatever, I'm riding. Whatever y'all do, I'm riding. But it's clear y'all want the smoke.
I was gonna say, now that you're open to it, suddenly I kind of want to do that.
Hey, I'm riding. Whatever you gotta do, man. Let's do it then.
Yeah, delay Halo DD. Let us know if you got this far. Hashtag. Put it on the comments. Of course, on Twitter, at G27status, at Lord Cognito. Ben, what's the numbers at the end of your by the way?
Look at him trying to get away. Look at him trying to get away from it now. He threw the grenade now. He don't know his numbers.
2588. Ben Smith. It's a really common name, so I couldn't get just Ben Smith. But yeah, Ben Smith 2588. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you got this deep, hashtag delay Halo DD. Look forward to seeing how many you want that delay. All right. That'll be it for episode 37 of Defining Duke. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on this.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. And to all of you who are tuning in and looking forward to next week, we'll see you with episode 38. All right. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.